I joined the Army Reserve in '88 and have been there ever since. I've got the rank of Major. I am an instructor at the Queensland University Regiment in Brisbane. In my volunteer work, I'm the president of the Gladstone RSL sub-branch. I'm the district vice president, so I mentor 7 sub-branches or chapters. Heavily involved with the young veterans, Central Queensland, veterans and their families, and come along and participate in activities and sort of break down any of those barriers where some veterans sort of hide. Done 1 operational deployment overseas while working for Council, and very grateful for Council allowing me the time off to go and pursue that part of my life. That was the reward, just helping. I just really enjoyed that, and I think that's what drew me to Council, because we were doing something for our community, whether it's just fixing a road or fixing a pump station or a burst water main. The guys that go out and do that in the middle of the night, that's a reward that you're helping the community and keeping the infrastructure operational for the community to use. Because we've got that common goal, because we serve the community. That's how it should be our number one focus, that we serve the community. We're not serving ourselves, and we all should just work together as one big team.
Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for the 23rd of April 2024. The first item on the agenda is apologies. We have no apologies, councillors. However, we do have Councillor Davis online. Thank you, Councillor Davis. The next item on the agenda is messages of condolence. Do we have any messages of condolence? No messages of condolence. The next item on the agenda is our prior notifications of conflicts of interest, and we do have a prior notification from Councillor Patrick. Over to you, Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would just like to, Councillor Leanne Patrick, inform the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in agenda item G 4.4, Community Investment Program, elevator application, due to my husband's business, McDonald's Boyne Island, being a financial member of the Gladstone Chamber of Commerce and Industry. That is a funding applicant. There is a potential that McDonald's Boyne Island could be a beneficiary of the Buy Local 2024-2025 campaign. Although I have a declarable conflict of interest, I believe I would be reasonably be perceived to be impartial, because whether or not the Gladstone Chamber of Commerce and Industry is successful in their application would have a significant impact would not have a significant impact on McDonald's Bourne Island. It is not certain that McDonald's Bourne Island would participate or benefit from the campaign, and McDonald's Bourne Island stands to gain no greater benefit than any other member of the Gladstone Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Therefore, I wish to remain in the meeting and ask the eligible councillors to decide if I may participate in the debate and decision-making despite my declarable conflict of interest.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Before we have questions, does anyone else have a conflict of interest in this item? Councillor Goodluck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a prescribed conflict of interest in item number G/4.4, Community Investment Program Elevator Fund applications, as I am a director on the board of Apprentices and Trainees Queensland, which are obviously one of the applicants, and as such I will leave the room for that item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Any further conflicts on that particular item? Thank you. In that case, councillors, with the exception of Councillor Goodluck, any questions to Councillor Patrick? Councillor Muscat.
Well, I appreciate that you're declaring the conflict, but I don't believe that will be something that will stop you from making a decision that is that will actually put you in a difficult situation. You, as many other members in the community, are involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and I encourage more people to be involved in the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm happy for you to remain in the room. So,
Thank you, Councillor Muscat.
so I would like to move that, Councillor. Yeah,
Thank you.
I will like to move that Councillor Patrick remains in the room for the discussions on that item.
Yeah. Now, the reason I've stopped the conversation is because it's never been an issue before, and having now you've raised that, my daughter is a member of the Chamber of Commerce, which I don't believe is a conflict either, but now I'm going to have to hand over to the Deputy to handle this because I will have to declare a declarable conflict of interest. Well, I don't have to, but if Councillor Patrick is, then I certainly am going to declare the same, and I'll have the same fate as Councillor Patrick on this issue because my daughter is a related party and a member of the Chamber of Commerce, which I don't believe is a conflict, but it's a declarable conflict based on yours. Sorry, can I hand over to the Chair, to the Deputy, please?
You're remaining in the room.
Thank you.
We'll wait till
Yeah, thank you. Because we can deal with it in the same manner.
Yeah. Does anyone have a question?
Is Councillor Patrick participating in the discussion as well as voting for the decision?
That's what
Yes.
she's,
Motion?
that's what
Yes,
she's
that's
requesting.
what I'm
That's
asking.
up to the table to
Yeah,
decide.
I'm happy to support that, for her to stay in and vote.
Do we to have another motion for Councillor Burnett too?
Now we deal with
Separately.
the first one.
Councillor
wonderful.
Muscat, so you've
We'll just
moved
deal
the
with the
motion. We
first.
just need a seconder.
Yes.
A former seconder.
So Councillor Holzheimer seconds the motion that Councillor Patrick stays in the room for the discussions and votes.
Thank you.
Everyone in favour? Wonderful.
Thank you. Now I'll
Now-
declare the same conflict of interest, declarable conflict of interest in that my daughter is a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I've never believed that as a conflict before, but I still don't believe it is today, and I'm more than happy to remain in the room if the councillor so
Happy to
be.
move that Mayor Matt remains in the room. He doesn't have a conflict.
Do we have a seconder? Everyone in favour?
Thank
Yes, thank you. Motion carried.
Thank
both
you.
of them.
I was a bit caught off guard there. Sorry. Thank you. You're right. And well done, Leanne. Thank you for raising that. Okay. Any other conflicts in that item? Any other conflicts, councillors, in any other item? Thank you. We'll deal with that when the time comes, and Councillor Goodluck has declared that he will be leaving the room for that item. The next item on the agenda is the Mayor's statement on current issues. And what a few weeks it has been in the Gladstone region in terms of events. We've had the Country Music Festival on the 6th and 7th of April at the Gladstone Showgrounds. Absolutely rained out, but everyone had a fantastic time. Well done to the organisers for organising that event in what was, you could only describe as atrocious weather. But it was a great weekend nonetheless, and they're already planning for their next event. It was literally a mosh pit, yes. Mushpit, yes. Their next event next year, they're planning for the 3rd, 4th and 5th of October. Must be just because it's my birthday. They want to have a big music festival. So that'll be a huge event again, no doubt. The Boyne Valley Country Music Campout on the 11th to the 14th of April was another fantastic event in the Boyne Valley. The Low Mead 3-Card Challenge, Take 2. Originally, the 3-card challenge was to take place around the same time as the bushfires in the Low Mead area, and they deferred the event and took 2 and had the event on the 12th to the 14th of April, and another huge success for the Low Mead 3-card challenge. The Gladstone RSL opened the sub-branch drop-in centre and area hub on Saturday the 13th of April, opened by Glenn Butcher, our local minister, and of course members from the RSL. Fantastic to see that facility open. That is what happens when local council, state government, federal government and of course community and the Gladstone Foundation work together for a great project and a great organisation in the Gladstone RSL. On the weekend just gone, we had the Legends of League at Dennis Park in Boyne Island, which also coincided with the Walking for Warriors event at Boyne Island as well at Dennis Park. The Queensland Ambulance Service in Mount Larkham celebrated 100 years, and the Miriam Vale Rodeo was also another successful event, albeit a bit of weather for that event as well. So lots happening in Gladstone, and we also, on the 10th of April, welcomed 53 new citizens to the Gladstone region in a citizenship ceremony at the Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre. And it's not just all events, though, in the Gladstone region. We had some significant announcements and some significant projects reaching completion. Firstly, the Fortescue Future Industries project in the Gladstone State Development Area was opened by the Minister for Industry and Science, Ed Husick, and the entire Queensland Cabinet came to Gladstone for that event as well. That's great to see that the Fortescue project will be, and is now, manufacturing electrolysers in the Gladstone region right here in our state development area. And also the very next day we opened the solar farm, or turned the dirt, on the solar farm at state development area, the Acciona solar farm, which will provide the green energy for the Stanwell power plant, which will be producing hydrogen. And then just recently, we had the Prime Minister in Gladstone, the Premier back in Gladstone, and the Federal Minister for Trade, Tourism, Don Farrell, the Minister for Resources in Northern Australia, Madeleine King, and of course Glenn Butcher, again our Minister for Regional Development, Water, and Manufacturing, announcing the $400 million for the Alpha HPA project. And then, of course, at the same time as the Fortescue project, they announced the 50 megawatt hydrogen production facility that'll be starting construction as well. So we've opened an electrolyser facility, we've announced a hydrogen facility, we've turned the dirt on a solar farm, and we've invested $400 million in the Alpha HPA project. Everything is happening in central Queensland and everything is happening in Gladstone, and we had the Prime Minister, the entire Queensland Cabinet here to make that announcement. I thank the Deputy Mayor for attending the Alpha HPA project for me. This week we have Anzac Day. Of course, Anzac Day is on Thursday, the 25th of April, and all the services are detailed on Council's website. I've also shared that on my own social media, where the dawn services and main services are right across the region. This Sunday is the Bell of the Brave Fun Run on Sunday, as I said, at 6 a.m. at Millennium Esplanade. It's a great fundraiser, and I encourage everyone to get involved in that. You don't have to run, you can walk or jog. I did my first practice today and only got 2.5k, so I've got a bit of running to do. But don't worry, Bella, she's amazing. She's a champion, and if the least we can do is support her by and the fundraiser by participating in that event on the weekend. Next weekend we have the opening of the Camping, Caravan and Cycling Weekend event at the Boyne Burnett Inland Rail Trail. More information on their Facebook page. The Boyne Tenham Hookup, of course, will be held in Boyne Island, Tenham Sands, and everyone can find more information on their website and Facebook as well. Australia's biggest family fishing festival, huge event for Gladstone region. And of course, the first Monday in May is Labor Day. The march will take place behind the council chambers at 10 a.m. in the morning, and then that will proceed to the Gladstone Marina, where there'll be live music, the annual tug-of-war rides for the kids, and just a fantastic family fun day in the Gladstone region. And then just yesterday, we welcomed the Board of Tourism Events Queensland to Gladstone for an tourism events conversation with our local businesses and industry. And then they went to Agnes Water last night and met with over 80 local businesses in Agnes Water. So when you combine the two together, we had over 100 local businesses meeting with the board and the CEO of Tourism Events Queensland. And I can tell you that they spoke very highly of the team at GAPDL and Discovery Coast Tourism and Commerce for all the good work they do in our community. Thank you, councillors. That's the Mayor's statement on current events. But before I move on, it is with joy but a touch of sadness that today we acknowledge the departure of 2 council long-term employees. I'm honoured on behalf of council to say a very big thank you to Kevin Doble, Senior Technical Officer, and Wendy Baker, I was right the first time, sorry, been a long time, Wendy's been with us, Technical Officer. After their farewell get-togethers, council teams and colleagues recently, I believe Kevin and Wendy will soon be heading out to enjoy travelling, although they may be tuned in today, not sure. I'm sure they're probably enjoying their retirement. Both Kev and Wendy have predominantly been based in our Calliope office, with Wendy also working in the Gladstone office for a short period of time. Both have served our organisation and the Gladstone region communities for an extensive number of years. From 1988, when I was just starting high school, to 2011, we were privileged to have Kevin's knowledge and experience supporting our plant and fleet operations. Kev left the business in late 2011, but fortunately for council, he returned in 2017 to take on a compliance and technical officer role at the council, senior technical officer, that is. Wendy joined council in the year 2000 and served 9 years as a personal assistant to the works operation manager, and from 2009 to just recently in 2024, we have been privileged to have Wendy sharing her strong knowledge of the business, providing great support in the asset field. On behalf of Gladstone Regional Council, it is an absolute honour to sincerely thank both Kev and Wendy for their service. Their commitment and dedication to their careers has been exceptional. Their work has contributed to making the Gladstone region greater. They have both been strongly respected by their colleagues across our business and have been extremely valuable team players and have been wonderful mentors. Kev, Wendy, we wish you all the very best and thank you humbly for your 30 plus years of service and dedication to serving the Gladstone region. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is the confirmation of minutes.
Happy to move that the minutes of the general meeting of the council held on the 5th of March 2024 be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. The next item is G2.1, which is the confirmation of the post-election meeting, which is the 2nd of April. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Seconded by Councillor Muscat. Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. We have no deputations this morning, councillors, so we'll move directly into our officers' reports. Our first officers' report is G4.1, the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly motions and attendance. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of People and Strategy, Carly Quinn. Thank you, Carly.
Good morning, councillors, and congratulations on your first meeting of the term. The report today is to present council with 3 motions for consideration for submission to the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly. It'll be held in Canberra from the 2nd to the 4th of July this year. We're also seeking your endorsement on councillors' attendance at the National General Assembly with this report as well. Motions submitted for debate influence ALGA's strategic priorities and annual action plan, determining their focus for advocacy, activities and resources. And the theme of this year's NGA is building community trust. The 3 motions that are being proposed align with council's strategic priorities and strategic direction, as well as ALGA's identified priority areas. They call for action from the federal government in the areas of housing, emergency management and community resilience, and skills shortages and critical worker attraction and retention. If council wishes to submit these motions, at least one councillor must attend the conference to speak to the motions, and Mayor Burnett is already attending the NGA as part of his role on the board of ALGA. And as such, it's preferable that we send an alternative councillor to speak to the motions. It's anticipated council may wish to send 2 alternative councillors, and there is enough budget to accommodate this.
Thank you, Carly. Obviously, as Vice President of the National Association, I will be there and attending, but as Councillor Goodluck has indicated previously, I'm not necessarily able to speak to our motions because I could be chairing that section. It's very awkward for the chair to have to speak to a motion, so ideally 2 councillors to attend this, please. Volunteers. Who likes to be in Canberra at cold time? Simon's interested? Anybody else? I did say 2. Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Deputy? Oh, you're the chair, haven't you? Okay, because we have a council meeting during that time, don't we? Yeah, so you'll need to be here to chair the meeting. Okay, well then maybe 2 is good. Is there any other nominees before I go out there? Are you happy to move?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm happy to move that Councillor McClintock and Councillor Wagner attend the National General Assembly.
Thank you. But Tanya's looking at me. Yes?
Yeah, the resolution has two parts. So there's the attendance,
Got the resolution.
but the other part of the resolution,
Is
the
the
motion, sorry.
I'd like to also move the officer's recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Officer's recommendation, and that's Councillor McClintock and Councillor Wagner attend. Are you happy to second that? Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Goodluck. Do you have a question? Oh, you're happy to third it? No one wants to go to Canberra in June. All I can suggest is bring your jacket. Oh, is it July this year? That's right. They've moved it a little bit. Still cold. Probably bloody State of Origin will be on while we're there. We'll have to find somewhere. Anyway, all good. Thank you. Councillors, I put the motion all in favour. Yeah, this one. Yeah, there. Thank you, and I saw that, Councillor Davis, as well. Thank you for your vote. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the application for a permanent road closure. Thank you, Carly. 4.2 at the Foreshores, and I'll hand over the General Manager of Assets and Environment, Mark Francis. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. I'm joined by Ali Moore, Manager of Environment and Conservation, who you'll be aware has just recently taken on responsibility for land management matters and the small reorganisation we've done within our council property. And in the gallery, I'm happy to welcome Carol Greenaway, who's joined us as our land management officer and is already doing some great work. This report is a referral from the Department of Resources for comment on application to close a road. There are two affected landholders sharing a boundary along the gazetted road area. Council does not maintain a road within the Mundulin Rocks gazetted road area. There is an access track which has been constructed from Clark's Road through the applicant's land, which is Lot 6, and then into the gazetted road area, which is around about halfway along Mundulin Rocks Road. The applicant has held a current permit to occupy, which is non-exclusive tenure issued by the Department of Resources since November 2004. The access track is utilised to access a number of structures within Lot 6. The decision on this is ultimately the department's. The department is responsible for the consultation with other property owners that the road may serve, such as Lot 7, to obtain their views. The proposed road closure will also need to be publicly advertised to allow other interested parties to make their submissions on the proposal, and that generally requires public notices being placed in newspaper and possibly erecting signs on the road. The process also includes referring the application to council as road manager to seek its views on the application as a road manager. And referenced in the report, officer's recommendation to you is based on a technical consideration of whether it's likely that the reserve may be required in the future for its dedicated purpose and be needed for a public road. We don't see that need as road manager, hence the recommendation. We are aware of the neighbouring landholder's objection, and that doesn't provide me a reason as a road manager and planning authority to object to the application, hence the recommendation which you have. We would expect the department to consider any and all objections in the matter, and we can certainly advise them of our desire for them to do so. Happy to receive any questions.
Questions to the General Manager, please. Councillor Wagner.
Hope this is working. Yeah, thank you for that great report. I'm just curious about the road and the access to obviously the foreshore there, and is it currently used by anyone? And if we agree to this too, what impact in the future might that have on sort of accessing, I suppose, Hummock Island, and any future plans that might be in that area, because there has been a lot of development proposed for that particular island over the years.
I'll take that in two parts. The first one, the second part, is Hummock Hill is access. That access is maintained via a track at the end of Clark's Road, so anything to do with Mundulin Rocks Road wouldn't affect that access to Hummock Hill. On the matter of the road in question, we don't maintain the road. We don't have any usage data for the road. It is an unformed track which is used, and we would expect if people are going to be inconvenienced by the closure, we would ask them to make a submission when the public submissions are open, so that their opinion can be considered by the department.
Sorry, I have another question. Thank you for answering that. The other one would be, is it, over time, is it something that council normally does in doing road closures, or would this be something sort of a bit unusual to be doing a road closure?
We are asked from time to time to comment on a road closure, remembering that it's the Department of Resources who has the ultimate responsibility to close the road, and we have a referral role in that to consent or not consent to it. It is, I would expect, in terms of developments and improving land for commercial purposes or for community purposes, I would expect maybe 1, possibly 2 a year. In terms of people trying to resolve their own land issues, and within there is vanishingly rare. I would think maybe 1 or 2 every 2 or 3 years is my experience of it. So it's not a regular thing to do it. There are a number of unmaintained gazetted road areas around the region which cause nobody any concern or issues, but when it does cause a landowner to make an application, then we are required to respond.
And sorry, just one other question, thank you. In terms of the objection to this, or objections to this as well, are those other residents impacted by this? The neighbouring residents impacted by this if we were to close it?
Lot 6?
Lot 7?
Lot 7 is the applicant.
Sorry, lot 6.
Lot 6
sorry.
is a neighbouring.
Apology.
Lot 6 has an extensive frontage along Clark's Road. I'm not sure the current road in question is used for access for Lot 7, but they are entitled to make an objection to the department for their consideration, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor McClintock.
Yeah, thank you. Probably just answered a little bit of what I had questions on there already, but is there public land at the end of that point out there that we are looking, that public can access, and this is their access point, or is this all private property at the end of that road there?
The road reserve in question actually bisects an area of Lot 6 at the top, but the foreshore area is foreshore.
Yep. And in the report here, it states that there's a series or a couple shacks, I think it's described as, and an unmaintained road. So it's my understanding that we don't invest any money into maintaining this access route at all.
Not at all.
So there's no financial expenditure to keeping that access route open.
If I could add through you, Mayor,
Yeah.
Councillor, one of the considerations is that if we were to say that we need that road to remain as road reserve, then there may be an expectation we will maintain that at a future point and improve that road. Because, as I say, the road management consideration is if it needs to fulfil its purpose as a road, and if it does, there may be an expectation from the community that it becomes a road.
Yeah. Which would be much easier if we had a already aligned space through there to do so, though, is my concern that if we lose that, that's a much bigger process to get that back. If we did need that, which is what we're talking about, would be the cost involved anyway. Is that my understanding?
Yes,
Correct?
however, we don't see a need for that in the future.
Yep. That's fair enough. No, that's okay. I think most of the other stuff was pretty well answered there, except for, when I opened it up on Google Maps, there seems to be about 14, not shacks, but buildings with tanks and solar panels, and it's quite a substantial amount of infrastructure around that point there. In my picture in my mind was a couple of timber little buildings down the end there, but there seems to be quite a lot of stuff down there. I'm hoping that we investigated the impact on those people down there, because there seems to be a lot of people living at the end of that area down there. Is that something we have spoken with them about in this process?
I'll refer to Ali in this one.
So we have spoken to the landholder about that, because generally you would see that those shacks quite often are permit to occupy through the department, but they're actually on private property.
Yep.
And the applicant is the owner of them, and he leases them out as holiday shack type situations. So
Okay.
He's the one that's already facilitating that, and the access that he's got in place currently through our Mondulin Rocks Road is to facilitate, for lack of a better word, a driveway.
Yep.
I also note that in order to access the track that's within our part of the road, gazetted road, you actually have to cross through private property to access it currently, and that's
see that.
behind a locked gate. So the only people accessing and using it at the moment are the people that the applicant are allowing to use those shacks.
So the applicant that is asking for the closure owns those shacks around the end there?
That's right.
Yep. Cool, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Can you clarify me, the objection from the neighbour states that they use the road to access something somewhere, but you're saying that it's private property, it's behind a locked gate, so technically, are we saying that they don't use that road?
Our understanding from the applicant is they don't access it currently. There's no gate that enables them access to it. The only way they would be able to access it is through the applicant's private property.
While Khan thinks of his next question, can you tell me how you're allowed to put a gate on a gazetted road? It's not gazetted. Oh, sorry.
Where the access track comes off Clark's Road, it is straight into private property. So that first half of what people refer to as Mondulin Rocks Road is just private land with the track. So he's more than entitled to restrict access.
Thanks. Questions? Any further questions, councillors? No further questions? I'll have a question. Okay, you go, and then I'll come back to me. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Matt. Look, I'm not in favour of the officer's recommendation. I'll put that out there to start with appropriately, but thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ali, for the work that you've done. My questions appropriately, firstly, is that this Mondulin Rocks Road is, you're saying there before it's a beaten up old track, be it, and we don't do any maintenance on it. Is that the case? Even though it's got a sign on it that actually acknowledges that it's Mondulin Rocks Road. Is that the case?
It's an unmade.
It's an unmade road.
Yeah.
Okay.
An access track has been formed.
And then Councillor McClintock referred to it, which I did as well. I went onto Google Maps and then appropriately go onto the GPS, and it acknowledges that the road exists and it's there as such. So I'm not sure why we would raise an expectation that we're going to do some maintenance on the road when we haven't done anything on the road anyway. Have we done anything on the road recently?
No, not at all.
You know, we haven't done anything on the road. There hasn't been any work done on it for, it's just, as you say, a beaten up old track, you know, through property. But all of a sudden we're going to raise expectation that we're going to go down there and create it into a, you know, a minimum seal road. I'm not sure where you're getting that information from.
Sorry, just to clarify that,
Please,
Councillor
thank
Churchill,
you.
if I can. The point I was making was that we are being asked if we think that road reserve needs to remain as road to fulfil its purpose as a road. That's the question we're being asked, and we don't see from our technical evaluation that does require to remain as a road. We don't have plans to improve that. We don't have plans for anything there to happen. If we, in response to this, say, yes, that is in our long-term plans to upgrade that and maintain it as a road, then that may raise the expectation I was referring to. It's not, it was commentary as opposed to...
No, thank you for that. That's astute and professional, but at the same time, where does it sit on our road classification? Because if it's a beaten up track, it's probably not on our road classification. So therefore, I'm not sure where the expectation's going to be coming from, but maybe you're hearing something that I'm not hearing. The other question I've got, and I understand the process that we've got to go through because we've got to make a decision here before it goes off to the department, and I understand that process, but you're indicating in your report here, and thank you for the comprehensive report, the applicant will be required to pay a purchase price for the land as well, subject to it getting through. So that's only the applicant is entitled to acquire that parcel of land?
Yes, he's seeking to close the road for his benefit and assume what was a road reserve into his lot.
So there's no statute that says it's got to go out to anyone else? It's only the applicant because it's within their freehold parcel of land? Is that the case?
That's a state land matter, but yes, under the Land Act, that's the position.
Okay then. Yeah, anyway, and then there's stakeholder engagement. It just seems it's a bit like the divisional issues, you know, it seems to be around the wrong way. You know, perhaps the department should have undertaken the stakeholder engagement first before we make a decision, but I understand the process. But, all right,
Well, while you're understanding the process, I'm kind of
Well,
not.
I'm trying to understand. I'm grappling with it, Matt. I'm trying to understand the process because, as I say, we make a decision appropriately, then it goes off. And
For
then
community consultation.
For community consultation, and this is like the divisional thing. You make a decision, you go out there and you find opposition to it, and next minute we're the worst ones out because we made the decision to close it.
What's the urgency around this decision from a council point of view? Why can't we wait until we see what the community consultation is? Or
So
do they not go to community consultation if we object?
That's correct.
Okay, fair call. Yeah, because if council objects, they're not going to close the road.
Sorry, Mayor, just to confirm that the Department of Resources, if we object, they will take it into consideration. But if they don't feel that our objection fits within their considerations for use of the road, they may decide to continue with their assessment of the application.
They may very well. I've been here for a long time and they've never ever approved a road that we've objected to closing. They've never approved the closure of a road that we've objected to. It'd be a very brave state government to do that. Just not sure I've got enough information to close the road. I'm not convinced that there isn't. I get why they want to close it. If that was my property, I'd probably want to close it too. But if I was one of the neighbours, I probably wouldn't. And I'm just not sure what access you might want to that foreshore. And I'm not. And it is. I've driven this before, but I'm not sure if it's the same one to access Hummock Hill Island. Is it the same road that gets the access there or not?
No, Clark's Road continues.
Clark's Road goes across. So
northwest
there's
up to
one
the
that goes off
access
to the
track,
edge, that one there up there on the left. You don't need to get on that at all. No?
Sorry, could you?
Yeah.
You can zoom out. So Clark's Road continues up to Hummock Hill. The road reserve in question is the one marked in red on the map.
And is Clark's the one, you can't see him in that. Okay, that's great. Which is the one where you access low tide to Hummock Hill?
Clark's Road.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Councillor Goodluck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So Mark, how is it that there's gazetted road if the entry to the road is via private land?
Would you like to take that, Ali?
Because it's an unformed track, essentially, in order to access the shacks at the foreshore, they've made the track within the private property, but it's actually happened to be formed into the gazetted road. So if we were ever to to put a road or do some kind of upgrade in there, it would likely have to go within the road corridor. But obviously there is environmental considerations on site as well in terms of the type of land that it is and the species that are there. So we haven't put that track in. That track's been formed by the users of the area.
And it's probably worthwhile pointing them out there. The track is highlighted in the blue dotted line off the reserve, so access to the reserve is through that private land. People don't use the access off Clark's Road to the south.
Okay, and then the application states that this is only for the... Sorry, thank you. The application states that this is only for the northern section of the road, so therefore Mon-Fri Rocks Road, the southern part, which goes effectively to where the access track lines in, would still be open? In the application it says this only applies to the northern section of the road. So does that reference mean everything north of the access point via Clark's Creek Road, or is it just to where the access track goes?
Do you want to? I believe the intent is where it intersects with the applicant's lot. There's a portion of the road south of that, which he's not interested in closing.
Is there's no road then? That red line?
That's just reserve. It's a line on a map.
It's not a formed track. Okay. The neighbouring lots, they have access then through Clark's Creek Road.
They also have access from their boundary along to the other parts of the foreshore as well.
Sorry, I've got Councillor Churchill, then McClintock, then back to...
Oh, yeah, thanks, Matt. I'm still grappling with this particular point, and I think that's where Councillor Goodluck is leading up that charge in trying to get an understanding that what is the impact to the public. And from my understanding, that, and please clarify this in my mind, be it the fishing shacks that are in this beaten up old track, and there are professional fishermen that gain a benefit, I suppose, from time to time. I'm trying to understand, the fishing shacks, are they on the applicant's land?
Yes.
Wouldn't it have been better perhaps if the applicant could deal with the removal or whatever it is that they're going to do, the applicant, and deal with that first before there is any likely impact that could occur on those that are using that currently?
Sorry, I'm not quite following that. The shacks that we believe the applicant is receiving a benefit from having those shacks on his land. He's leasing those out. There's no intent to remove them.
I've got no intent to remove them?
No.
Okay then. Yeah. Again, the process, wouldn't it be better if the department undertook the community engagement? Or, again, this is, if they undertook the community engagement or the stakeholder engagement, but you're indicating here generally undertaken by the department, council has not undertaken any community consultation, so it's in your report here, but I'm still not 100% satisfied that there's not going to be an impact on users in that area.
Neither am I. Councillor McClintock, then Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, I guess that's where my concern sits, is not the thoroughness of this report here, but the lack of clarity that we can't get without that community consultation. And when I look through the opportunities and risks that you've placed out here, which is really helpful, thank you for that. It seems that the opportunities are a benefit for one landowner and not for the other. So already we're 50-50 on, even just from a community point of view on that thing. The road closure would create revenue for the department, which is not our ratepayers. That's for state. I'm guessing that gets sold and that's a part of state funding. Is that correct? Yep. Absolutely. And the only thing that we really gain as a community is that we don't have any liability for the gazetted road area, which we have admitted we're not really going to do anything with anyway. So not taking into consideration that I think this is obviously a part of an ongoing dispute between the two members, that's irrelevant. When we look at it from an opportunities and a risk point of view, I can't see there's any real benefits to us doing that as a community. And the risks do seem to sit there that we could actually be doing something poor for our community without the right information as to how that's going to affect the people that are involved with it, I guess.
Thank you, Councillor McClintock. Councillor Wagner, then Councillor Goodluck.
Well said, Councillor McClintock, and probably my sentiments are echoed there. I'm just wondering if we can go back to the map, because I am a little bit confused. And we see the corridor on there, and we're talking now about the northern section. Can you just point to what section of that road they're proposing to close, please?
If you could scroll down a little.
Sorry.
See here, please. So effectively, they're talking about the portion from the access track north.
So, okay, from that blue dotted line, yep, north.
That's their area of interest, but I would assume while they're mentioning that.
Sorry, Mark, just for clarity, your arrow is going on that little blue dotted line, but it also is all over the water, isn't it?
It's from their north, yes.
So that's all that section, right? Yeah. So it's not just a little bit in between the two.
No. The little bit in between the two isn't a road.
That's private land.
That's private land. It's from the intersection of the path all the way up to the top of lot 6.
So it's only that section there, okay.
Councillor Goodluck or Councillor Wagner, you have any more questions?
No, thanks.
Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And just for clarity, Mark, I think I might be about to get held down here, but can you just point to me where the alternate access is for, you said across the foreshore, so there's other access tracks there, is there?
Yeah, it's not visible on that map. It's up right before you head over to Hummock Hill Island.
Okay, so from my understanding, that Mon-Fri Rocks Road, the southern part of the road doesn't even exist. So no one's obviously using that unless you're on a, maybe former councillor O'Grady on her push bike might get through it. The access to it is via private land with a gate, which is, so the only people that are accessing or using this road, and correct me if I'm wrong, are people that have permission to access it via the private land, and it is not a road for public use. So, and then the alternate landowners obviously have alternate access, sorry, the neighbouring landowners have alternate access. So with that in consideration, I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation. I think it's fine.
Thank you. Councillor Holzheimer, sorry.
So through us supporting the recommendation today, it will simply progress the application to the next level, which will be community consultation. And then further decisions and exploration will happen, but not around this table.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. I'm quite satisfied with those answers. Now, is there any, so are we sending a letter to say that we support the closure?
We fill in what's called a Form LE30.
So is there room there to put in any notes?
Yes, absolutely.
So would it be maybe something that we could do is in put in a note that we will be interested in following up on community consultation, on the community consultation results? And
I believe, sorry, Councillor Muscat, through you, Mr Mayor, we don't, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not that we support the closure, it's a letter of no objection.
No objection.
Yeah. And therefore it is the department's responsibility then to undertake the consultation, and ultimately they'll make the decision.
Yeah, but sorry, Councillor Goodluck, the recommendation says that council supports the application. So offer no objection is a little less, but it currently says council support, which is different to offering no objection, I believe.
Thank you. Is that an error in contextual wording, or is it a, not that it matters to me, to be honest.
Form LE30.
my intention was just to put in some, if we were able to put in somewhere that at the moment with the information that we have, we see no reason to object. However, we would like to understand if there's any other objections or something along those lines.
There's certainly an opportunity to do that. Tanya, could you remind me of what Form C requests of us as road manager?
Form C does have a couple of boxes that you can select, and one of them is that you select, that you support the application. Another is that you object to the application and you must provide your grounds. There is still room where we could say that we do support the application subject to public consultation. We can frame some words around that approach, but generally speaking, applicants need the support to progress with their application.
If you did that, then you're ticking the I support the road closure option, and then saying, or what are you suggesting? That is that support it with these or oppose it with these?
If you're very
Which
much...
box you tick is very important.
If you're very much on the you object to it unless the public support it, I would suggest that you would have, we object to the road closure subject to the department undertaking public consultation or something along those words. That it's up to you.
Thank you. Councillors, further questions? Councillor Goodluck?
I'm just, so no one can access this road unless they have permission of the landowner to go through a lock gate on private property. So to me, is that correct?
Yeah, so just to be clear again, the road doesn't exist. What's happened is there's a road reserve gazetted by the state there, of which we are the road manager. We believe believe there's no need for that reserve to fulfil its purpose and become a public road. What's happened is a track has been constructed within and round about the road reserve alignment, for which the access is through the private property, which is gated.
Yeah, and so there has been occasions in the past where we've dealt with these applications for road closure, where you've got a road that is used by members of the public. In this instance, from what I'm understanding, this is not one of those cases. No one can, this is not a road that exists via public gazetted road track, because there is none. The only way you can access the road is through the access track, which is on private land with a locked gate. And if it was my land and my access track, I'd probably put a gate on it and lock it too. That's completely understandable. So to me, this is not, you know, a publicly accessible road that we are cutting off members of the community from. It is simply, so I guess I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation. I think that's fine.
Thank you. I have Councillor, okay, I've got Councillor Davis online, and then I can take a recommendation from either Deputy Mayor or Councillor Goodluck. Karen.
Thank you, Mayor Matt. Mark, I know you said the gate is locked, but can we be 100% sure that none of the public is accessing that track down to the hummock end?
Sorry, the hummock end is open.
No, sorry. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Josh. No, sorry, we can't take conversation from the gallery.
Sorry, the access to hummock, Councillor Davis, is not affected by this. That's straight through on Clark's Road and isn't subject to this application.
All right, so we can be 100% sure that there is no other public that access that track.
As far as we're aware, yes.
Okay, thank you.
If councillors would like more time to consider it, I'm happy to defer, but or I'm happy to take a resolution from the chamber. Does anyone have any other further questions, please?
I do, Mayor.
Councillor Churchill.
I'll come back to the point there, I suppose, from our expert here, Tanya, with your governance. You're saying from the application form that it's either got to be to support the application for permanent closure, or we object to the closure. And we have to have a reason for objecting to the closure.
That's correct, Councillor Churchill.
We don't know what we don't know at this stage, because at the end of the day, the reality of it is if we were to offer no objection based on the information that we have before us, I'm prepared to go on that journey and let the department or the Queensland Government appropriately undertake that community engagement, that stakeholder engagement, and resultantly, if there's nothing found, then it's a fait accompli. But if there was, then we're back where we started from as such. So I'm still grappling with it. I'll go on the journey, but was there another option on the form?
No, it's only that we support or object and we provide reasons, but and that's why we're asked to consider this from a point of as a road manager. I just also wanted to make a point of clarification that even though there is no formed road within that gazetted road area, any member of the public has a public right of access to use that road. So it may be that they can only walk through or however they decide to get through. But while the gazetted road exists, there is a public right of access. So you are removing that public right of access. They may not be able to use a vehicle there, but that's part of the road closure.
Yeah. Could you zoom out on your thing, please, so I can follow the road right down? So it connects to Clark's Road. So at some point, if the state wanted to open it, it could, without going through the private lock gate area, it could connect to Clark's Road and then connect to the foreshore. Yes. Right. So what you're saying before, Councillor Goodluck, the only way to access it might currently be by a lock gate through someone's private property, but it ultimately could be connected to Clark's Road and connected to the waterfront. Is that not right?
That is correct, and that's the assessment that we've made. about whether we require that road reserve to fulfil that role as a public road to the foreshore. And we don't have in any of our planning, we don't see any developments in that area which would require that corridor to be opened as a road.
Probably agree with you, but I don't know what that's going to look like, that area. I mean, originally, as Councillor Wagner said, they were going to launch rockets from there at one point. Then they were going to build this ridiculous whole village.
Yeah.
It could be, it's a very big parcel of land. It could be anything in some time to come.
And
what's the public benefit for closing it?
Sorry, the benefit is all derived by the applicant. There's no real community benefit to it. It's a land dealing that the applicant is proposing to the state to amalgamate the 12 or so hectares of road reserve into its property. Should there be development, then as planning authority, we may end up re-requiring access and roads to be built, but that would be part of a development application.
Re-requiring is a nice word. Is it re-acquiring?
We would seek them to open a road if it's required under the conditions of the planning scheme if it was to be developed.
And then the state sell this section and the council then buy it back?
We would condition that on a developer, I would think, if it was to happen in the future.
Is there someone in the planning department that could tell me that that's a fair and reasonable condition?
To provide access to the development, yes it is.
Okay. I think I'm coming on the journey here. Councillor, good luck.
Valid points that you've raised, Mr Mayor, but I suspect it's state land at the end on the foreshores, occupied by the private landowner under permit to occupy. If the department had any knowledge or any future plans of any potential development there, that would be a matter for them to consider around as they consider this application to close. But I look at it, the only access again to this route is via private property. And if it was my property, I'd probably have a gate on it and lock it as well. I fully understand what you were mentioning, Tanya, around public right via a gazetted road. I'm not sure how many people are hoofing it up the beaten track through the trees to get there currently. I suspect the only people that are using this road are people who've got permission to do so via the lock gate through the private property, and if they don't have permission to go through the lock gate through the private property, they shouldn't be accessing it anyway. So I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. That council support the application for the permanent road closure of Muldoon Rocks Road, foreshore situated between lot 6
if I can add,
7. Yes.
Mr Mayor, happy to add into the recommendation around, a community consultation, that we would support a community consultation aspect, however that needs to be worded.
The word subject to community consultation, would you be happy with that?
Subject to, does that?
I don't know, it's your recommendation, I'm just helping you here. What the wording you're looking for?
Perhaps
or alternatively could be requesting that community consultation be undertaken.
requesting that community, I'm happy with requesting. That works for me. Thank you.
Can I put that on the screen, please, for councillors to see?
Just noting, if I make a quick comment, was that it was the Queensland government that called in the Hummerkill project.
And did nothing with it. Whoop, there's that little spelling error after closure. Of Muldoon Rocks foreshore, requesting that the community consultation be undertaken with respect to the application. Thank you. Did I have a seconder for that recommendation? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further questions, councillors? Thank you. Councillor McClintock.
Yeah, it's not so much a question as much as I think what everybody is wrestling with here is the idea that we are going to deliver a piece of paper to the state government that says we love this idea of this road being closed. We don't have enough information to love the idea, but we also don't necessarily object. I don't necessarily object. I just struggle with the wording of entire support behind it and those only two options. So yeah, as long as I guess the wording reflects the fact that it's not that we're in love with the idea, but we're also open to the idea pending that. I think that's probably okay.
To be fair, I'm happy with the resolution now. I've come
so.
along on the journey. That's the idea of the debate in the room. We have previously passed resolutions that says council offer no objection. I'm sure I could dig enough officers out of the room that have been here long enough to know that there will be a resolution on our books somewhere that says council offer no objection. But obviously they've changed the form, and heaven forbid the state give you 3 options. So I've got a mover and seconder, but I'll go to you, Councillor Churchill, and I'll put the motion.
Just a question to Councillor Goodluck to move on. And I understand the intent now, and I'm prepared to go on the journey as well, but just to make sure it's quite clear, in your current resolution you got up there requesting that the department undertake community can be undertaken by the department. I wouldn't like to think that there'd be any confusion later on.
Thank you.
That the onus of responsibility was upon us to undertake that. If you'd be receptive to that, Councillor Goodluck.
I think you will.
I think that's an excellent idea, Councillor. Happy to support that.
Good on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? I know this is a tricky one. Okay, I have a mover in Councillor Goodluck and second in Councillor Muscat. The recommendation on the screen. No further comments or questions. I put the motion. All in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is 4.3, the sale of lot 212 on CPU 7251. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mayor. First of all, I need to apologise for a couple of spelling errors within the report. We have inexplicably managed to let a misspelling of Boyne Valley through on page 15 of the report, underneath background, and option 2 is asking you not to reject me as an officer, but to reject the offer under consideration. Brief background to this. Most will be aware that in response to a motion from Councillor Churchill regarding the long unsold lots 206 to 214 on U7251, in New Bobo, officers undertook to make a determined effort to revisit the opportunity to dispose of the blocks. 3 blocks were resolved previously by council to be sold, with the balance going to auction. The lot in question today, lot 212, was passed in and then listed for sale. We have a conditional contract for the sale of the land, and we're asking you to resolve that the exemption provided for in section 236 of the Local Government Act regulation, applies to this sale, meeting the requirements on the following basis. 1, that the land was previously offered for sale by auction in March 2024. 2, the sale price is higher than the highest bid at auction. And 3, considering the recent sales of the adjoining parcels of land and the valuation received in March 2023, the sale price is equal to market value.
Yeah, Councillor Churchill, then Councillor McClintock.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Mayor Matt. Ever so pleased to see that we're getting to the finalisation of these parcels of land, as you indicated from my notice of motion, because we seem to have gone a long way to have got nowhere. But now that we've actually got this starting to happen, the 2 great benefits that come out of it, and while some people may perhaps question, it sits within the land valuation of the 25,000 to 35,000, so we thank you immensely for that. The other point that I raise is appropriately, now that this parcel of land can go forward to be freehold, we hope that there are great benefits that can come to the Boyne Valley as a result of those that perhaps may be wanting to start families and set their roots in the Boyne Valley. The other one that we need to, and for those that are perhaps listening in or watching in today, is that these people that acquire these parcels of land to become part of our community, and we understand that there's not a land banking exercise here, because if it had been a land banking exercise, they would have done it 10 or 12 years ago, is that they now appropriately become, like all of us, or most of us, they become residents and they become ratepayers, which is a return to the ratepayers of the region. So I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation without reading it all. I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation and prepared to answer any questions that people might have subject to the aftermath of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. You lost me there a little bit. Can I get a second for that? And then I have more questions. Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Councillor McClintock.
Thank you. I am on board, I think, with this, but just for clarification, I guess, for anyone who is observing this from the outside, the recommendation is that we're going to resolve that the exemption S2361A applies to the land. So part A of that is that the land was previously offered for sale by tender or auction but was not sold, which applies. Right. Just a clarification on the next line that says "and is sold for more than the highest tender or auction bid that was received." Is that something that applies to this, and is this above what was received at that auction? Is that information that we're able to give out for someone who is concerned about that?
It was passed in, but...
It was passed in, and the reserve was set at below $27,000.
So had it gone to auction,
It would have sold.
It would have sold. Yeah. All good. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, just a bit of history, sorry about this, but just to get my head around it. So all the other parcels of land sold,
Yep.
except for this particular one, and it went to auction in March this year, wasn't it?
Correct.
And when was the valuation done?
March 2023.
All right. And has there been, it's a bit hard because there hasn't been any other sales, I suppose, other than these of residential small allotments. But are we confident that that valuation would have, will still remain now that we have seen a spike in land values across our region in the last year?
I think, given the bidding that was undertaken at the auction, that showed where the market was for these blocks.
Excellent. And are there any covenants or anything that I suppose determines that these people need to build within a certain amount of time, or can they just sit on it?
There are none.
Okay, thank you.
It'd be nice to be able to ask them to raise families.
Yes, maybe, absolutely. No, all good. There might be a few. Any further questions, councillors? No? I got a mover in Councillor Churchill and a second in Councillor Holzheimer. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mark and Ali. All right, the next item on the agenda is G4.4, Community Investment Program Elevator Fund Applications, and Councillor Goodluck has a conflict of interest and is leaving the room. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Community and Lifestyle, Kylie Lee, and welcome Brianna Jansen as well.
Thank you, Councillor, CEO and members of our gallery. This morning we're presenting a report on round 2 of our elevator fund. Thank you. For 2023-24, and it's the last round for this financial year. Applicants under the elevator fund can apply for funding between $10,000 and $30,000 to strengthen their community organisation or to develop and deliver initiatives, programs, projects that meet one of the elevator fund criteria. The fund's objectives are capacity, place, connection, wellbeing and planning. 5 applications were received in this round and assessed by a panel of council staff and then moderated. As a result, 2 of those applications scored over 75% and are recommended for full funding. The 3 other applications scored below 74% and are recommended for partial funding. Should the officer's recommendation be accepted, we will oversubscribe this round by 5,884. However, that can be accommodated and absorbed through the underspend in some of our other areas, which is charity waste and waste donation funds. I have Bri Jansen here with me this morning, Manager of Community Partnerships, and invite any questions you might have on the applications.
Thank you. Questions to the General Manager, please. Councillor Holzheimer.
Hi. So I have a couple of questions in regards to, I know when we have some for the grants and they're not reaching the percentage that we want to, it's often because they haven't provided enough information in those areas. And then I also understand that we provide training. Do we tailor our training specifically to the gaps that we've observed when we run future rounds of grant writing training for those applicants as well? I've got a couple of other.
So we don't undertake grant writing training. So there's other providers like Not-for-Profit House that would do grant writing training. We do an education process on the application. So we give people tips on how to write
how to submit a compliant application.
Yeah.
And obviously invite any questions that any applicants may have. But there are grant writing support through other organisations.
The next part of my question is, if we approve one of these and we say, okay, they're not reaching a certain area that we'd like them to, how does that impact on future grants that they might apply for? Do we just go, okay, cool, you continually don't answer these questions or provide that information, and we've provided this opportunity for support and education? Does that impact their future success for applications?
We provide, part of this process is to ensure that there's a lot of transparency around the criteria that we evaluate on. So that allows us to be very specific in our feedback back to the applicant. So we're really providing an education process in the feedback letter, so showing them how they could strengthen certain application areas for their next application.
Yeah, beautiful. Alrighty, thank you. And also, do we look at, when we're reviewing the applications, the in-kind services we can provide, or do they have to request them through their application?
They usually request them through the application. So the majority of our in-kind service is normally at the GECC through technical audio-visual services. We have also provided marketing services in kind before, but we do ask the applicant to suggest those.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, please, Councillor Wagner?
Yes, good morning, ladies. Thank you. Well-constructed report. Thank you very much. I'm just struggling with one of them, which is the Outback Mind Foundation. And I'm just wondering because in the report I see that they're claiming to be doing early intervention and helping reduce or eliminate, I think is the word, domestic violence. I'm just wondering how we sort of assess whether or not these are the, I suppose, the accredited, authorised people to do that in the community, because I'm a little bit concerned about what risks might be involved, and we do have some other organisations within the region that go through accreditation and are funded. And I also noticed that this particular organisation isn't receiving funding from others at this stage, which would then bring them to a level where they would have to go through that accreditation process.
Thank you, Councillor Wagner. That's a great question. Our officers actually picked this one up through another conversation. So we are suggesting with the Outback Mind Foundation to change the terminology when they're promoting this session. It's really an early understanding of the warning signs that could impact their mental health around domestic violence. So we definitely do understand the risk involved there when people aren't qualified to deliver that type of training. So we are also amending our application process to have a few checks and balances in that space to make sure we've got accredited people.
Excellent, great work. I do have just a comment too. So in looking at this particular one, because it is something obviously I'm quite passionate about, that we are addressing the hike in domestic violence in our community. I think that is well published. This particular group has put out a video that's received some acclaim in town and received some funding. I'm concerned, and I'd like that documented, that there are comments in that video that raises some alarm bells with me, and those comments are, men's are victims too, and it takes two to tango, and that's victim blaming and shifting accountability, and men need empathy, not punishment for their trauma. That goes exactly against what all the documentation is, what the government is espousing. So I'm glad to see that we're going to be looking at that, but I think too it probably serves for us, I suppose, warning us too that in our process we do need to be a little bit probably more rigorous. And I'm not saying that these people don't have it, and I applaud them for anything that is helping engage men together and trying to reduce some of those stigmas, and I look forward to seeing if they are rewording it, but I am still concerned, and I do need that on record, that if they are in that domestic violence field, they actually may be, by some of their comments there, I mean, it could be even an enabler, you know, if we're working with these men.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Wagner. I got Councillor McClintock, then Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. I think this is a really good report. Thank you. And obviously we're working with just very brief information of what has gone into this, and I trust there was quite a lot of thought into each of these. Looking at just the numbers, sometimes it makes me scratch my head as to why things cost that much, but that's not really what we're talking about here, I guess. My concern probably from that thought, though, and the next part of it is a little bit to Councillor Holsheimer's question. Is there a process in place, or is there a way, if not, that we could implement, I'll reword that question. Is the follow-up procedure to post these funding grants, if they've failed in any capacity, or they can't prove, success from their funding, is that something, one, that we take into consideration? You kind of touched on that before, but two, is there a way to have that apply, the rating matrix for the next round of applications? Being a father, I know my kids come to me and say, sorry, and then do the same thing tomorrow. Sorry, do the same thing tomorrow. I would hate for us to be, doing that process where, they keep going, oh yeah, we'll do it better next time, but there's nothing in place to actually disincentivise that post. Does that make sense as a question?
It makes total sense. It's a great question. Thanks, Councillor McClintock. We have a very rigorous acquittal process.
Yep.
So we are, these are ratepayers' funds. We need to make sure that they're being spent properly. So we do have an acquittal process that needs to justify the spend and justify the outcomes. So that certainly is something that we can take into consideration if we have a future application.
Yep.
It's also another source of learning as well. So
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I do have another one. Probably just further to that first question, though, is, obviously we have information on previous amounts that we've given to them, and I would just really like to see it very transparently implemented into future funding that, they have previously had funding and have proven success, or they had a 95% proof. I don't know. A lot of it's non-tangible. I get that. But I can also think that we're just throwing money at them and saying, was it successful? Yes. Okay. And then see the next time around.
We can certainly add some information into the report that talks about their previous acquittal of those funds. So it's a great idea.
Yep. Second to that was just a point of clarification on the overspend and the use of the charity waste waiver and waste donation funds. Just to clarify, that's not taking away from someone's ability to use that. That's excess that we have sitting in that fund at the moment, and it's not being used. Not that charities or people in the community are not going to be able to access as much so that we can do this.
Thank you, Councillor. Based on our assessment of the usage of those funds over the start of the financial year, we are very confident that we will not expend all of those funds, and we can easily accommodate that overspend.
Cool. Thank you.
Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. I don't have questions, but just wanted to, be grateful because some of the things that you guys just raised now, councillors, definitely I would love to see previous funding given to, not necessarily just in the last 6 months, but maybe in the last couple of years. It is interesting to see also, it's great that this time we got 5, sometimes we got more. It's great that we are able to fund all of them, but sometimes there's also who takes the time to make a submission, or who has the time to put a submission in. The other thing I wanted to say is that I wanted to thank Councillor Wagner for raising those questions. And I also really like to see some sort of process or some sort of, I don't know if criteria or something added to policy to make sure that even though we might have the greatest intentions, we're not causing more harm than good. So I think that what we just said, it was actually very brave. We understand that people have great intentions, but we are talking about things that are very harmful for our community, especially families and children. So I love to see how we can incorporate that into our funding. I know in this case it's domestic and family violence, but there will be other applications that might do other things. I don't know. Where it could be about older people, it could be about children, etc., etc. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Then back to Councillor Wagner.
Mine's just a comment. I want to congratulate on the report. It has come a long way since I was sitting in the gallery listening to a lot of investment decisions that were being made to now, and it is exciting that we now have new ideas that are coming to the forefront. And I just want to support the councillors with the insight that they are bringing into the chambers as well. So,
Councillor Wagner, would you be interested in moving the officer's recommendation and declining that one for the Outback Mine? Yes. Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Do you have a further question? Lisa, you're looking at me?
No, I'm just saying we'd need to record reasons for declining against the recommendation, just to support that decision.
Can I get an understanding of the resolution? The resolution you're moving is effectively approving all except the Outback.
That's what I believe Councillor Wagner was intending.
That's right too. I think that, I think the motion would be to decline, how can I put it? The information presented before us at this stage indicates that they're going to be reducing domestic and stopping domestic violence, and I'm not sure what the wording should be, but...
Can we bring the screen up so we can see our recommendation, please?
Yes,
typing. I'd love to see, you'd have to show me, Tanya, after the meeting where we have to provide a reason for disagreeing with the officer's recommendations.
It's when when you go against the officer's recommendation and it's inconsistent with policy. So the officers have undertaken their assessment in accordance with the policy, and that's how they've ranked and funded each of the applications. So council is, of course, entitled to make this decision. It's just noting for transparency purposes.
Well, I'll help you with words then, Councillor Wagner. That council decline the Outback Mine Foundation and approve the other applications according to the officer's recommendation, based on the boardroom not agreeing that that is the best use of ratepayers' money.
Did you get that right?
Well, that's brief and short, and I don't think you need to go. I don't know why we have to give a recommendation, but you've explained. And if you don't have to go into more detail than that, I don't believe. Are you happy with that, Tanya or Lisa? Are you going to tell me that you need to give you a list of reasons why?
No. I think I'm comfortable with that.
Apologise.
I guess the consideration is about transparency. If an applicant has been assessed as meeting the criteria and been recommended, it's just the why you're not wanting them to proceed, and it's something that you need to be happy with. So it's your decision.
So just to read it back to you.
Can we see it on the screen, please? Sorry about reading it back is lovely, but seeing it is better.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
So can I ask a question while doing that?
Please do.
So the intent of Councillor Wagner, you're indicating that we're not going to support a program for early intervention of domestic violence, emotional literacy and wellbeing connection for men because it's male orientated, or?
No, well, there's insufficient information to suggest that those people have the expertise to deliver that program.
That's a
All right,
better.
so
That's a better reason.
That explains it a little bit better to me, rather than saying we're going to decline a program of early intervention of domestic violence, and I'm wearing this here today, emotional literacy and wellbeing connection about trusting instincts, because the sad part about it is that there is, and it's reported, and again, if you want to wait for the debate later on, Mayor Matt, but you know, there are people that are dying every day out there as a result of domestic violence. There's one lady being killed every week And that's a stat, and that's a stat that we have to, it's a scourge of society right now, and we have to do something about it. But I'm genuinely concerned that it sends a negative message if we're not going to support programs that are trying to do the right thing. But that clarifies it a little bit. It's not male, not female. It's insufficient information that went to the assessment panel, because the assessment panel have been through this whole process and have brought it to us today to support doing something, because doing nothing is not an option. So I'll wait until you get to the debate, because I'd like to know why we're going to reject any effort to do something out there in our community, considering that this applicant had done something previously which was approved and unanimously supported by this council. So please, I'm going to grapple with this one. Thank you.
Councillor Wagner, then I've got Councillor...
I do take that on board, and I don't want to be here to discredit anyone. That's not what it's about. But this is about when you're in the domestic violence field. If we're going to really be doing it, then people need to be able to show that they have the actual qualifications that is supported by the Queensland Government and the federal government and all the initiatives that are working on it, because otherwise we're placing lives at risk by putting people that have every best intention to do the right thing going out there and maybe dealing with it, in not the most appropriate way. So in the report itself, it does show that there isn't any, there's insufficient data to support this. It was identified in the report by the officers as well. And I'd like to think, because of the magnitude of this, I'm all for domestic violence and supporting it, but there's nothing in that report to suggest that there's outcomes. And I'm not seeing from the previous program that this particular group delivered, any evidence suggests that there were real outcomes. So, perhaps the resolution would be that, they rework it or suggest what they're actually doing, but I'm not seeing anything there to suggest that they have the capacity to be able to be early intervention or stopping domestic violence is what they're claiming to do.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner, we're getting the wording up there based on what you said before, but I've got Councillor Holzheimer, then Councillor Muscat with some comments or questions, and then McClintock.
So our recommendation is to decline them for being able to be successful for this round of funding, not to have the opportunity to provide more information, because we are alternate. I suppose for me, I'm thinking that youth have gone away, you've gone through your process, and we have gone, okay, cool, we think the process is incorrect, so theoretically they've met our process. However, we want to change our process midway through an application as well. I'm not saying for either way. However, it's, do they have an opportunity then to come back with the new information that we require to assist with that decision, or is it a hard no?
They have opportunity. That's why these come to the boardroom. They're assessed by officers, and then they come to the boardroom, and then the boardroom place a community lens on top of them. And the way the recommendation currently is that they would be declined in this round, but doesn't stop them applying it in a future round. So can I come back? I just got Councillor Muscat, then McClintock.
So the recommendation is to approve all 5 applications as they're presented. Councillor Wagner has moved an amendment to the recommendation, which talks about approving all of them but one. So what I was going to suggest too, if Councillor Wagner is happy to, is to add another sentence there that is not necessarily excluding, or well, not excluding, but declining these organisations' application, but it is to give them an opportunity to provide further information in relation to their past outcomes and qualifications or expertise in this field, because I believe it's important that we make sure that even we might have the best intentions, that we don't cause more harm than good. I agree with Councillor Churchill. We have to make sure everyone that wants to do something is able to do something, but not everything, we don't have to say yes to everything that people want to do because they think that it's the right thing to do, especially in this very complex issue of domestic and family violence and the way in which we might be able to portray the roles of different genders in the situation. So if Councillor Wagner is agreeable to it, I would like to add an extra sentence or word that as in, it's not with the exemption or with the exception at this time until the Outback Mine provides additional information about their skills and expertise.
Well, the recommendation that's currently moved and seconded is on the screen. It's that the application.
I'm the seconder. So
yeah, I know. Can I put the recommendation then scroll down to the recommendation first, then to the reason? I just want to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Adopt the panel's recommendation. Received for the categories detailed below, with the exception of the application for Outback Mine, and then scroll down to the reason is that the application from Outback Mine was refused as council, as in the boardroom, do not agree that the Outback Mine Foundation has the necessary accreditation to provide the proposed project. That's the current recommendation, moved and seconded.
I don't know about not agree. I mean,
Okay.
We don't know.
Your microphone. The council is unsure.
Yeah, unsure. Yep.
I'll keep coming there. I just want to see it on the screen so I know what we're talking about. Application was refused. Council do not have enough information. Thank you. That's a good compromise there. Eileen Lee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to seek clarification on the accreditation required. So this project is the delivery of short videos in the workplace or at sporting grounds to have self-awareness, to help men discover self-awareness and then have a referral pathway. So Outback Mine wouldn't be delivering the support, it's just a referral pathway to the right support. These sessions are also delivered by a social worker with the intent of reducing domestic violence, male suicide and good mental health. So what's the other qualification that we're seeking here?
I've got Councillor McClintock first, but I might go back to Michelle. Councillor Wagner?
Yeah, so when do they're saying facilitators and they were training more facilitators. So are they training them to be social workers or?
So this is the delivery of videos in workplaces that are designed to provide a self-awareness of men of some of the, in their words, aha moments where they should be seeking support. So Outback Mine would then refer them to another supporter, not deliver that work themselves.
Councillor McClintock and then Patrick, I think maybe.
I'm wrestling with this because I completely hear what you're saying there, Councillor Wagner, and don't disagree. I guess the thing that comes to the forefront is that we're basing this on saying that even though they intend to do well, they may be causing more harm. My fear is that we may be doing the same. We intend to stop them from doing bad, but in fact we're doing more harm. We're stopping the conversation, or we're holding back the opportunity for community to have that conversation amongst workplaces. That's just my concern, is that we also are making assumptions a little bit in that process there. I'm probably against the complete refusal. I think the amendment that was suggested is I'm much happier with. I guess perhaps whether there's a way, there's a series of videos, I believe, whether if there's a particular, and I haven't seen them, so I'm taking just assumptions here, but whether there are specific videos that we could request not to be a part of that process, but at the same time empower that conversation. This is something that I'm pretty passionate about amongst men's circles as well, and as I know that's not what this is against, this is exactly what you're trying to say. But I would like to see this conversation happen, but I also don't disagree that we want to make sure it happens well. But my fear is if we stop it, we're actually doing the same. We're stopping the conversation. I guess it's kind of a comment more than a question, but is there a way to... I think I'm happier with the wording that you explained where the project is about beginning the conversation and connecting them with professionals in this area, not being the end point of professionals in this area. And what we are trying to empower, I guess, or what this organisation is empowering is connecting people to those professionals that will deliver healthy things. We just want to, I guess, a little bit of clarification that they're not going to cause harm along the way. But, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor McClintock. Just by way of reassuring councillors around this application, would it be palatable for us to have the video assessed by a professional organisation?
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
This application was assessed pre the video's release. The video was released on Friday. Would it be suitable to potentially...
yes, I think that's exactly what we're looking for.
Kylie, the other opportunity is to include provisions in the funding agreement around them aligning with a specific set of guidelines that we could use. Thank you.
Councillor, Patrick.
No, that's okay. Was going to make a comment similar to Councillor McClintock. I haven't seen the footage, so it's really hard for me to make a comment or a judgment until we have a look at that. I believe the conversations need to happen, but we also need to be very careful that we aren't empowering bad things onto our community. So thanks.
Councillor Churchill, then Councillor Holzheimer.
Thank you, Mayor Matt. I'll come back to my point again there before. Appropriately, it's been through a vigorous process to get where it is today. The other part of it is that, and I speak relevant because you would be well aware that that I was involved originally with the benefits that could become as a result of their activities. And my third part is that I definitely do not want to see any message being sent today that we're not supportive. We're not supportive of any projects, any programs or any services from anybody with qualifications or with reference to accessing those sort of qualifications. So can I make a suggestion? I'm prepared to move an amendment appropriately. And I'm not quite sure because we've got an amendment, but I'm prepared to move an amendment off the amendment.
We don't have an amendment, we've got a recommendation.
Oh, well, if there's no amendment, then appropriately, my amendment would be that we remove that one particular application to be able to satisfy the mover and the seconder of the original officer's recommendation that it be go back for further review and that we ask the applicant to be able to provide those extra details that are needed to be able to make sure that this council makes a fully informed decision in relation to their application. So my amendment through you, Mayor Matt, would be that we remove that particular application, Outback Mind Foundation, and that we deal with the other ones as one, and that we delegate that particular application to the CEO for it to be reviewed to come back to a future council meeting. I know I haven't written down my amendment, but I'm coming off top of my head.
I would like to see the amendment before I put the amendment. And I'm happy to accept it once I get a seconder. Sorry, Tanya and Rachel, on this fly there, but it's important we get it right. Lisa?
Sorry, I was just... there's two ways to go, as you've suggested, Councillor Churchill, that it come back to the table, or you could provide conditional approval and subject to meeting those concerns that you've had. So it depends whether you want it to come back or whether you've given us enough clarity about the information you're seeking and the action Kylie's proposing in terms of reviewing that video. If that gives you comfort, if those boxes are ticked, you're happy for it to be approved.
Thank you, Madam
CEO. Or you
CEO.
can bring it back to the table. That's absolutely your
Thank you,
prerogative.
Madam CEO. I think there's wise words of wisdom in amongst that. But from my perspective, I don't know the conditions that are being required. Well, I don't know the full list of conditions that are being required at this stage as from the mover and the seconder of the motion. If I knew what all those conditions would be, I hear that they have to have qualifications. I hear that they have to, I've heard a few things, but I'm not exactly 100% sure of what those particular conditions are. If I could be satisfied with those, then I'm prepared to accept that. We could delegate it to you as the CEO that it could be dealt with, provided they met those conditions. Is that the case?
It could be, but you raise a good point. I would need to have the clarity that you're seeking as well to ensure that we met the criteria. So perhaps it is best to bring it back. It might be cleaner.
But no, they are the wise words of wisdom. I'll go back to my amendment appropriately, is that we deal with the other applications. Yep, yeah, if you get a second amendment.
No, but I need the wording, please.
Yep.
So the amendment is that we approve all except, at my mind at this point, but seek further clarification on their,
Mr Mayor, sorry, I had.
Your motion still stands at the moment. We'll come back to that.
Maybe demonstrate how the program is critical for the early intervention, emotional literacy and wellbeing for men in the Gladstone region. And, sorry, I can give you this anyway, if you like. So how...
We are not approving.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, so not approving it at this point. Is that right?
Or are we just deferring?
My amendment is to approve the 4 and defer the other.
Yeah. Defer the other.
Okay.
Pending explanation of how the program is critical for the early intervention, emotional literacy and wellbeing for men in the Gladstone region, and to demonstrate the capacity with evidence of facilitator qualifications and experience to provide this service in its current unregulated environment.
I think that's the words I would have said, Mayor Matt. Yeah, I've got no doubts.
So can I just add for clarification? So if an organisation is, I suppose, endorsed by the state government, it receives funding or it has accreditation, then it becomes a regulated environment. So look, and I just want to clarify too that I applaud this group for some of the work that it can do with its men's circles. It's the I suppose, alluding to preventing or reducing domestic violence that I have concern with, because it's a whole new field and it is a very regulated environment in not just Queensland but Australia, and we need to make sure that the people that are delivering it aren't just looking at the risks for participants and spouses, but also themselves. So when it's regulated, there's some really clear guidelines on how to deliver that group work. Thank you.
Thank you. We have an amendment now. We don't do this very often. So we have an officer's recommendation, then we have a council recommendation. That recommendation has been moved and seconded, and now there is an amendment to that recommendation by Councillor Churchill. Before it goes any further, I need a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Thank you. Okay, is there any further questions on the amendment? The way this works, councillors, you get to do this. We don't do them very often. So first we have to support the amendment, and then the amendment becomes a motion. It's a bit of a twice thing. So I'm going to put, unless there's further conversation, I think we've spent a bit of time on this. So I'm going to put the amendment. Moved Councillor Churchill, seconded Councillor Holzheimer. All in favour? Thank you. The amendment now becomes a motion, and I don't need a mover and a seconder again for the motion, do I? Yes. I do. Moved again by Councillor Churchill, seconded by. I'm going to go. No, this is the amendment. The motion is. This becomes a motion now. I'm going to let Councillor Wagner second that if that's right, because Wagner, Holzheimer, you'll get it. Seconded Councillor Wagner. I'm going to put the new motion, which is the amendment, All in favour? And the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll ask for Councillor Goodluck to return to the room, and we might break for morning tea. Thank you. Thanks, Josh.
I joined the Army Reserve in '88 and have been there ever since. I've got the rank of Major. I'm an instructor at the Queensland University Regiment in Brisbane. In my volunteer work, I'm the president of the Gladstone RSL sub-branch. I'm the district vice president, so I mentor 7 sub-branches or chapters. Heavily involved with the young veterans, Central Queensland, veterans and their families, and come along and participate in activities and sort of break down any of those barriers where some veterans sort of hide. Done 1 operational deployment overseas while working for council, and very grateful for council allowing me the time off to go and pursue that part of my life. That was the reward, just helping. I just really enjoyed that, and I think that's what drew me to council, because we were doing something for our community, whether it's just fixing a road or fixing pump station or a burst water main. The guys that go out and do that in the middle of the night, that's a reward that you're helping the community and keeping the infrastructure operational for the community to use, because we've got that common goal, because we serve the community. That's how it should be our number one focus, that we serve the community. We're not serving ourselves, and we all should just work together as one big team.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
I joined the Army Reserve in '88 and have been there ever since. I've got the rank of Major. I'm an instructor at the Queensland University Regiment in Brisbane. In my volunteer work, I'm the president of the Gladstone RSL sub-branch. I'm the district vice president, so I mentor 7 sub-branches or chapters. Heavily involved with the young veterans, Central Queensland, veterans and their families, and come along and participate in activities and sort of break down any of those barriers where some veterans sort of hide. Done 1 operational deployment overseas while working for council, and very grateful for council allowing me the time off to go and pursue that part of my life. That was the reward, just helping. I just really enjoyed that, and I think that's what drew me to council, because we were doing something for our community, whether it's just fixing a road or fixing pump station or a burst water main. The guys that go out and do that in the middle of the night, that's a reward that you're helping the community and keeping the infrastructure operational for the community to use, because we've got that common goal, because we serve the community. That's how it should be our number one focus, that we serve the community. We're not serving ourselves, and we all should just work together as one big team.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Thank you, councillors. We resume the meeting at G4.5, which is our financial performance report for March 2024, and I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Morning, councillors. This item is your monthly financial report through to... Apologies. This is your monthly financial report through to the end of March. Certainly at this point we're just in the process of building our budget and starting to revise our forecast. So we're doing our Q3 forecast as we speak. So what we're going to be talking about today is our financial reports actuals to the end of March, but our forecast essentially as at December. You'll note that our revenue is slightly behind pro rata, so essentially 3/4 of the way through the year. Total revenue is at 67% of forecast at this time. And the two big factors with respect to that are essentially our general purpose grant and our income tax equivalents, which essentially we will receive in May and June respectively. So they're the items that are essentially lagging behind in that space. But we are at this stage we haven't received updates on those numbers, so we are working on what we've forecast in that space. With respect to our capital revenue, it's very much in line with our capital spend. So we'll note when we get to our capital spend that we're a little bit behind where we would hope for this time of year. Same with our capital revenue, that's dependent on that expenditure as well. It helps fund that. So you'll see that we've received just under $15 million of $45 million worth of capital revenue for the year. With respect to our recurrent expenditure, very close to our pro rata position, so it's 73.5%. as opposed to our 75% pro rata, so very close there. With employee benefits being slightly above and our balance of our materials and services being slightly below that figure. With respect to our capital, as we said before, just under $42 million worth of capital spend through to the end of March. Still forecasting a big finish to the year, particularly with respect to our restoration of public assets expenditure, as well as the balance of the program, taking it to $104 million. Might see that come down slightly, but there are still good signs that we will go very close to that number. And you'll see there that there's a table there that outlines how we're spending that money with respect to those restorations of public assets. So you're some $32 million worth of funding there, and all with the exception of the Granite Creek Bridge, which will be conducted in essentially 24-25. Most of that work will be completed this financial year. With respect to your outstanding rates, we are tracking below the recovery rate of last year, so we got 4.2% of our rates outstanding as at the end of March, and that compares favourably to last year, where we were at 5% for the same period. Our sustainability indicators are essentially in line with budget, and as you'll be aware, they essentially track our various metrics as in line with the state government's sustainability framework. And you've got some commentary there with respect to each of those. But happy to take questions with respect to the report.
Thank you, Mark. Questions to the General Manager, please. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mayor Matt. And again, thank you, Mark. A very comprehensive report. I'll just find my highlighted areas. I've got a couple of, hopefully, brief questions. Page 26, albeit page 26 of the agenda, you indicated discounts of $14.5 million have been granted in the 23-24 payments received by the due date. How does that compare to other years? Is that high? Is that low? Or is that?
It was a little bit lower this year, but yeah, but essentially, you know, once you've got that, people have got to pay within that 60-day payment period to receive that. Yeah, so but it means about 90% of our rates are paid up front.
Yeah, because the idea effectively is that the discount is provided in our rate program as an incentive, but you're saying that that's a bit lower than normal.
Yeah, not significantly. Yeah, so it's very much in line with historical trends.
The intent of my question, I suppose, is what's going out in the big world at the moment, cost of living and pressure to be able to afford and buy groceries and everything else.
And essentially that gets reflected in your outstanding rates figure, and essentially what you do see is a number of payment plans there that we do articulate in that report to show that we are providing those means for people that may want to work through collectively with our revenue team to make sure we put the right payment arrangements in place.
Okay, yeah, no, great, thank you for that. On page 27, the Gladstone Airport Corporation dividend, which we're well aware of, the previous council, with the return being larger than forecasted, so that gets adjusted in Q3.
Correct.
And then does that, what does that do for Q4 then? Is there an adjustment made by the Airport Corporation board for their budget in Q4, or does that come around when they do their first quarter of the next financial year?
So that dividend was with respect to the previous financial year. So what you will see in Q4 is essentially really no change. So that figure will be the same for the balance of the financial year. What we will see during Q4 is essentially estimates with respect to the performance of the airport for the following financial year, and we'll see a lodgement of what's called their statement of corporate intent that outlines how they're going to conduct their business and what we may expect to see by way of dividends and tax equivalents coming back to the business over that time.
Okay, thank you for that. And you made reference to that statement of corporate intent. Yep. Is that something that gets reviewed as a result of a new council being elected, or is that just something that's part of their normal day business?
That's something that's lodged annually by the airport and comes to this table.
Okay, so this new council, newly elected council, will see that at some stage?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks for that. My final one was on page 28, and whether it's a question to you or perhaps to a general manager in a different area, which is page 28, which is the Gladstone sewer manhole replacement. Again, a minimal amount. The intent of my question is, be it actual is 200,000. Is that replacement for those that were stolen as such, or is that, so is it an upgrade of those, or is it replacing the ones that were stolen? We had a number of them stolen, and perhaps to another general manager, Mark Francis, or is that an upgrade as a result of the manholes being deficient in doing their job?
It is a renewal programme, Councillor Churchill, so it's incidental and coincidental that there was thefts.
Sorry, Mark.
Sorry, it's coincidental that there was thefts, but this is a planned renewal programme that we're undertaking across the region to upgrade the manholes.
As a result of them, I suppose, depreciating in their
condition,
capacity to do what they need to do?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so then I suppose, is that also replacing the ones that were stolen as well?
It will be. The ones that are stolen are replaced as a matter of course, but this is about upgrading and making them safer to access as well.
Okay, I suppose the subset was that if we lost a lot of them, is there no insurance options for us, or it's probably not sufficient?
Yeah, you can't really receive insurance or provide insurance coverage for water and sewage assets, unfortunately. So,
damn.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah, no, yep, absolutely, yep. Can't get insurance for that either.
Right, that's an interesting one. There's another learning. There you go. You can't get insurance coverage on water and sewage and assets.
Yeah, so we do insure some of our assets, but a lot of that infrastructure stuff that's in the ground, we can't.
Oh, okay. Lovely. Thank you for that. I'm quite happy.
Okay, I've got Councillor McClintock, then Councillor Wagner.
A lot of meat to this, and really thorough, and sounds really good. So thank you very much for laying it out in a way that we can consume it for the first time. Couple of questions that I'm hoping will be easy ones. One thing that stood out to me would be on page 29, the Low-Mead Road Safety and Sealing Upgrade. Is budgeted for 4.1 million, and the actual sitting at 0.6, which I'm assuming we're still underway with that, which is okay. But the forecast is 3.3. Is that because we found a more affordable way to do it?
Yeah, so that's the grant side of that.
Yep.
Essentially with respect to that project, it's a multi-year project. So
yep.
What you're seeing here is what we were anticipating to receive during the year. So you'll note there is essentially paper later today that actually is about part of that project as well. Yeah.
Just want to make sure that we're maximising spending in that region, particularly. That it does cost us more to service that end of the region.
All that you will see is essentially a movement in cash flow
yep.
between the
years. Cool.
Yep.
Great. And I guess the only other one was just a clarification on the Granite Creek that you mentioned in your open just there. The 4.9 million has been postponed into the next budget, and there's going to be a funding amendment request. Is that we lose that funding, or is that we are able to still maintain that funding just in the next financial year?
It's about extending that funding deadline. So with respect to that funding pool, essentially the general principle is that needs to be expended within the subsequent financial year to the damage. That would expire 30 June 24. We are in the process of making representations to QRA. They've been made, and we're just waiting to receive that advice with respect to that. Don't anticipate any issues with respect to that, but we just haven't received that formal advice yet.
Yeah, just wanted to make comment that we just want to make sure that we're maximising, obviously, that end of the region that has money allocated and seems to be getting pushed and kicked down the line. And I know there's reasons for that, but we just want to,
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
I've been told I've used my word limit for the day, but good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm just wondering, on page 28, we're looking at the Bindaree Road, Mirranvale Investigate replacement options. Can you just explain, it looks like there was no budget, no forecast, but the actual is $1.5 million.
Yep, this is what you're looking at there is the revenue side.
Yep.
So that was actually, we did some work on bridges there previously, and we got funding with respect to that.
Awesome.
Yep, so that was the receipt of that funding in this financial year. The work was actually completed in the previous financial year. So we didn't anticipate to receive it as part of when Council adopted its budget for the 23-24 financial year.
Yeah.
Circumstances saw that we did complete it in this financial year, and therefore we're able to receive the balance of that funding. Generally, what you'll see is with respect to funding, you'll get essentially a large payment up front, and then you'll get the balance at the end. So it's generally 50-50, or it could be even more heavier weighted to completion.
Oh, excellent. Well, that was very generous for state government, I'm assuming. Excellent. Also, when we're looking at the sorry. Page 32, we're looking at the capital projects. Mark, would you mind just explaining where the forecast's at $104.4 million, where the budget is 68.6 million? Can you just explain to us the difference there?
Yep. So the budget there was set with the expectation that restoration of assets work may be essentially operating, so essentially not capital in nature. Review of that work, we saw that probably wasn't the case in terms of the life of a lot of those assets, and a lot of the assets being completed were essentially our capital. So therefore, as part of the forecast process, there was a decrease in both operating revenue and operating expenditure, and that's been transferred to capital. At the time when the budget was being built, we hadn't received formal approval of those essentially funding amounts. So essentially it was based on assessment at that time. So once we received that formal approval, done those assessments, we essentially recategorised at that time.
Excellent. No worries. And sorry, and just pardon my ignorance, but on that same chart there in March, it's got an accrual of $1.8 million. Can you just explain that to me?
Yep. So essentially that's work that's been complete but not yet billed.
Excellent. No, thank you very much, and the report's wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Happy to move the officer's recommendation, Mayor Matt.
Thank you. And seconded in Councillor McClintock. Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you, Councillor Davis. It's carried. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Specialised Supplier Solutions in Transport. General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk. Mark, again.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to welcome Brent Meinberger, our Manager of Contracts and Procurement, up to the table as well. He'll be able to assist with any queries we may have with respect to this report. This is seeking your support with respect to looking at an exception to our requirement to go to tender for essentially specialised supplier for our essentially software for our traffic support. So essentially we do a lot of our traffic work out there. We're required to do plans each and every time for that. This software is actually looking at essentially automating a lot of that work and getting that done in alignment with the existing standards. The reason why this is specialised is essentially there is only a minimal number of suppliers in this space, but essentially this developer in this space is essentially the people who write the Queensland standards. So essentially is tailor-made for Queensland local government, and don't believe that it's actually beneficial to go to essentially a different process.
Thank you. Councillor McClintock.
Thank you. Big fan of making better systems. Can appreciate that there's no doubt some experts in this area that have investigated and come to that conclusion. Just for, I guess, help with transparency for people who are observing and watching, the cost, I guess, benefit to community or ratepayers as per the implementation of this? Is this going to lessen the burden on man hours? Is that where the main saving is? Is it going to, what are the benefits, I guess, just to clarify, or just in a couple of dot points perhaps, of this system versus how we're currently doing it and how that compares, particularly as far as funding?
Yeah, good question, Councillor McClintock. It's the system itself definitely reduces man hours. The output of the software gives a PDF signed copy of the traffic arrangement specifically outlined for that particular work. So it'll outline, based on the Queensland requirements, where the signs need to be, how it gets communicated, where you should put particular people. So it should technically be safer and quicker to compile these requirements together for the community. So it will definitely save on man hours and quality of the actual work itself.
Mostly, yeah, thank you. Mostly because we're talking about what seems to be a large amount of money for a computer program. Not a small thing, but it's still a big chunk of money. We want to see, I guess people will want to know, and we want to know, that we're getting, that nearly $40,000 worth of value, not that we're just increasing or making someone's job easier so they can have more cups of tea, but we're actually seeing value to that extent or close to that extent that would justify that sort of expenditure. Is that something you would say is on par? I know there's not exact figures around that, but that's something you're happy to stand behind?
Yeah, and certainly talking to Boyd, and apologies he can't make it today, our acting General Manager Operations. But with respect to this, I think it really is about timeliness.
Yep.
So we know that it's going to be, and we're going to get better community outcomes because we can get these timelier traffic plans created.
Yep.
What, in our discussions with Board, is that we know it's going to provide value that we can invest that time elsewhere. We just really need to start utilising it to actually really quantify what that looks like in future.
Can understand that.
Certainly for the investment, we'll absolutely be able to get that back.
Yeah, great. My second question was in relation to is there ongoing, I tried to research a little bit of the actual program. It did make mention to the need to have these reviewed by a TMD. And that was services that they could supply extra. Is that something that we would require because there was an extra expense attached to that? Or is this, we've got the people in place that all the training will be included in that price and this is the cost that this program entails, not ongoing other costs?
Yeah, so it sort of aligns exactly with what Mark was saying before. So we need to assess the full requirements of it as we go to really see if it meets the requirements within council to ensure that we're covering all the bases there.
Okay.
Sorry, Brent, do we currently use this program?
No, we do not.
No.
Oh.
Yep.
I figured.
It's brand new.
So currently it actually is manual. We don't have an automated process for this.
Sorry, well, in which case I can't not support a tender process when there's 3 other companies I found online, the Traffic Plans Company, Invariant and Rapid Plan, and Road Manager, which all do similar things. Now, I know you just said that this meets the Queensland Government guidelines, but if there are other companies doing this, I don't know why we wouldn't go to tender.
Yeah,
Can I ask Mark and then you can jump in, Councillor Goodluck?
Yeah, so essentially, our team that have done the due diligence in this space, essentially the designers of it and of those, essentially the people that compile that, essentially that MUTCD, so that traffic guidelines, those designers are in this space, and that's essentially we're utilising that expertise. Absolutely, that option of going to through a separate procurement process is an option that remains with council for this. You may not end up with a different result, but that's where we go.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Importantly, for me, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he writes the guidelines, and therefore this particular company has a strategic advantage whereby we can get approvals very quickly and management plans very quickly, and it's particularly in the efficiencies because it's a manual process at the moment. It can take 3 days, 4 days for us to go through and do those individual tasks. We can get a very automated system from a proponent that knows the ins and outs of the guidelines because they're part of the organisation that writes them. So I understand what you're saying, that there might be others out there that might provide a similar service, but I think the approach, to me, this is an innovation, I guess, that we're trying to take to be able to improve the efficiencies mainly around our traffic management. And that's going to be of great advantage. We might not be able to quantify the costs and savings right at this minute because you don't know exactly what those efficiencies are going to be, but we certainly know that they're going to be there. So I'll be happy to support the officer's recommendation, happy to consider another approach, Mr. Mayor, if that's what we want to do, but I do understand, I guess, trying to clarify in some way that this is I think this is a good thing and a good approach to take.
I'm happy to support a procurement process that is fair if someone is genuinely a sole supplier. And haven't
So to
convinced
be-
me they
So
are.
to be clear, Mr Mayor, we're saying it's a specialised supplier, not sole supplier. So, and it really is because of that expertise that we're saying it is specialised.
Councillor Davis online. Well, I think that through a bit more. Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Mayor Matt. How quick can this be implemented, and how beneficial is it going to be to like the ongoing and outstanding roadworks?
It's very quick. Yeah, the implementation itself, Councillor Davis, does not take very long, and the results of utilising the software can be pretty much found within a few weeks of the implementation.
Okay, and training, as Councillor McClintock mentioned, how, is there training involved for the staff?
Yeah, look, it's once you start to utilize, there is training specifically on just how to use it. So there's lots of entry points that you just basically put in. So you still need to understand an element of road requirements. But once you pop it in, it spits out a PDF document specifically on the arrangements, nearly within 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Councillor Wagner?
Yes, thank you. One question, hopefully. I see it's 39,500 for the first year, but then there's a 15% increase for the second year, which is a bit concerning, for a total expenditure of nearly $85,000. What happens after the 2 years? If this is a successful program, are we going to see another 15% increase year on, year out?
So the increase itself actually doesn't align with the software provider itself. We've put it in there to make sure that we've taken into consideration CPI throughout that period if it does increase, just so that way we don't need to bring it back to council during that time. If at the end of the period it needs to be reassessed or the software isn't doing what it's intended on doing, then we would look at other arrangements.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Holzheimer?
Do we have any information on what other councils are actually doing in this space at the moment and what they're using?
Currently, I'm not aware. We can go away and find out if that's the case.
Yeah, we'd have to take that on notice, but
Yep.
this is a relatively new innovation.
That's
And
right.
so this is, so not many councils are utilising this. But I expect there would be more and more automation in this space. So it is essentially using essentially a form of AI technology to do this.
And does this also positively impact our insurance as a measure for safety, risk, with that not just saving on the planning timeframes?
I don't know whether it would have a material impact on our insurance premium. So essentially most of although from a safety perspective for our staff in terms of making sure that we're providing that comfort, we've got the right signage to protect our staff working on roads, it would help and assure that activity. I don't believe but that risk, because you're working on roads, still remains. I don't know whether it would materially reduce your essentially insurance premium.
Is it possible by going to tender that this company, if they ended up being the preferred tenderer, they might sharpen the pencil anyway? Because they're going tender. How does this price work? We just call them up and they get given us a price over the phone, or how does it work?
So that is a good question. A lot of the software providers don't provide any discounting associated with services. It is off the shelf. This is the price that you're provided. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, good question.
I mean, if they are the only ones that have the MTU, what is it? MTC, thank you. They've got a bit of a monopoly then, which is concerning separately. And almost force councils across the state to then use them. What's the Queensland government doing on that? Where's the fairness for the other companies, these other ones I mentioned, and probably more, that's just what I found on Google, that provide this very similar service if they're not having access to the same standards, or do they not? Can you tell me wholeheartedly that the traffic plans company or road manager in Varian can't do what this other company does?
We would have to take
We'd
that
have
on
to
notice.
take it on notice.
Yeah, okay. Well, in that case, I'm not comfortable to support the recommendation as it currently stands. And I think we'll either move or defer or to go to tender. I think what you're trying to achieve, I support wholeheartedly, because if it sets up right and your systems are right, it'll tell you where you've got to put all your signage, and it will print you out something which would otherwise take hours and hours to do. I get it. So I think I support that, but I don't know that I'd these probably are the right company and you've got the right people who have assessed it and are probably right, but I'm not 100% convinced that someone else might not be able to do exactly the same thing cheaper.
Sorry, but if we are to put a tender out, wouldn't you be actually saying that you want a company that can do this exact thing that no one else can do anyway?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. No one else can do it.
So we would be going and putting it in our specification, essentially what are those outcomes we're seeking from the software, and we'll assess those responses when we get them.
Yes.
What we're saying is it is unlikely that we're going to get all those boxes ticked by any other supplier.
What we have done, what would you say, some research, a lot of research?
Yeah, some research has been done on it. A lot of them do provide the framework to give outlines on road requirements, but not necessarily to the Queensland standard and legislated. So that's probably the challenging part, is there would need to be an in-depth technical review against each of the others to make sure they conform to those specific requirements.
I would have thought if this is the business they're in, that's what they would do to make sure that they got the business, or they're just going to say, oh, Queensland's too hard, this traffic solutions in traffic have got the monopoly and we're out, we'll just concentrate on New South Wales and America. I don't know.
But it would be depending on what they want to use it for and what's the purpose of wanting to.
I would figure there'd be a Queensland government guidelines that would be an input, and I needed an IT person that would explain this to me, but that would go in there and then the system would say, right, these are the new rules for Queensland, we put ours in at this end and it'd follow. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert in this area, so that's why I'm not convinced that I'm not comfortable. Sorry, Councillor Goodluck.
My understanding, the MUTC and the guidelines can change and do change sometimes on a bi-monthly basis. It can be a very challenging environment for any company to keep up with those rapid changes, and I believe that the strategic advantage from this particular proponent, given that there is expertise in writing those changes, there's again an advantage to knowing exactly what those changes are, and being able to ensure that any software, any systems that we're utilising are well and truly on top of those changes.
Well, that opens a whole different question, not for this chamber, but how do they get that strategic advantage of any other company in the state or the nation?
Because he's on the board that writes the guidelines.
Sounds like a conflict of interest to me.
This person's had the skill set to develop that company. I guess that's his strategic advantage, and that's how he's gone to business. So, yeah.
Why not? If you can, if you're watching, good on you. Councillor.
I just don't know what the actual real background is, but I am familiar with different companies that will make sure they, for example, are able to service certain government and software pieces or processes. We do it with the Department of Social Services. There's some people that will set their software to feed directly into certain things, and others don't because that's not the market they're looking at selling to. So I understand the concerns here, but if we are going to put a tender out that says that we want a company that does this, and we know that this is the only one that does it, it's kind of...
if we know that.
Yeah.
I agree with you, if we know that, but I'm not convinced we know that. Do we?
We know that.
You know that. You can wholeheartedly tell me that there's no other company in the nation that could do what these people are doing. I don't know that you can.
Mr Mayor, I'm sorry that Boyd's not here. I know he's had an urgent staffing matter, but I understand that they've tested some options and this is the only one that works, but I can't put my hand on my heart and give you that evidence here now. So that there is an option if you'd like more information, or you can just go ahead with whatever decision you'd like to make today. So I'm sorry about that. We don't have that information.
Maybe defer to Boyd, but in the meantime, can I ask Mark, how much is the tender process? What are we looking at?
It really is, it is time, and it's not, and it's really just a quote, and it's not a tender process, it's a quote. So we'd go to 3 quotes and it wouldn't come back to the boardroom.
Okay. I'll move something from the floor then, that we support this project, support this company after receiving 3 quotes and delegate to the CEO to make the decision.
Don't know that we could do that.
You can't?
Can't invite quotes if you've already...
If you don't approve, so essentially, if you don't approve the specialised supplier recommendation,
okay.
That's essentially the process we would go through anyhow under our procurement policy.
Okay, sorry. Let me see the screen. I'm just not convinced they are the right ones, but I'm probably wrong. right?
Mr Mayor, I don't think we provide you with enough information to give you that reassurance. So
Okay, yeah. Actually, maybe let's just do that. What have you got there, Tanya? Not specialised suppliers council undertaking. Well, that's what I was probably leaning towards, but I don't think that has the support of the boardroom. I think I'll just move that we defer this item to the next council meeting, seconded by by Councillor Goodluck.
Can I probably just, you either approve or don't approve? Because to be fair, from a timeliness perspective, we could be most of the way through a quoting process and have already worked through that in that period of time.
So go with what I've set up there then?
Yeah.
I am going to support the officer's recommendation. Mr Mayor, I fully appreciate that you'd like more information. It is a shame that our manager isn't here to be able to give that clarity to you, but I'm very comfortable with the officer's recommendation.
Okay. We do have a motion. Which
So not a point of order, but you've got a motion and
I'll
you've
go
got a
back to it.
seconder.
Well,
We had a motion, I don't think we've read them.
my motion will be to defer.
You said you had a motion from the floor.
And Councillor Goodluck was going to second it, but I accept that he's not going to do that. Can I have a seconder to defer the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Yeah, well, it gives then we can get more information. I know what you're saying, Mark, but not convinced. Sorry. Any further questions?
We might be delaying the whole.
We've survived with it for 100 years now. I think another month isn't going to be a problem.
Yeah, if we go to a quote process, essentially you could be, we could go and seek 3 quotes and we could go and assess those.
Yeah.
If it takes a month to do that, we could have already done that and essentially have done that essentially through our procurement policy. Yeah. I guess what we're saying, the reason for this resolution is essentially to enact and go.
So you're saying we may have already gone for quotes?
No, we haven't. We haven't, but if you were to go through your procurement, if you were to not make the decision today, essentially by not going through that, you would need to go through and seek 3 quotes.
Yeah.
And if we get, and we'd then assess that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think your decision is either the officer's recommendation or you don't support.
Okay. Maybe I
We
need
do take-
the
sorry.
officers generally in the room to help me make it and us make a decision.
Yes, and we have noted we need to provide better information with these sorts of reports as well, because we understand it puts you in a difficult situation. So again, apologise for that, but I probably support Mark's plea. It's absolutely council's decision, but either approve it or not, and we'll get on with the quote process if that's acceptable to you.
Councillor provides it.
It's in the budget, isn't it?
It's in your proposed budget for 24-25.
Oh, thank you very much.
Remember that we're discussing whether this supplier is a specialised supplier, like not the rest of the things. So let's go back to it's got nothing to do with budget. It's got nothing to do. Is this supplier a specialised supplier? That's the question.
Councillor Muscat, you indicating to me that this is not relevant to budget because if we don't have a budget for it appropriately, then it's a forecast budget item. So it is relevant to budget.
Question in the report.
Yeah, I'm just reading the recommendation. Councillor Wagner.
Oh, it is now. Thank you very much. Look, it is a hard one. I don't see any evidence to show, and I'm sorry, that it is a specialised, and if that's what this is about, then I can't support it, even though I'd like to. Just saying.
Just on the question of whether or not it is a specialised supplier, the question to be considered is whether it would be impractical or disadvantageous for council to invite quotes or tenders. So it's not really a question, are they specialised? It is, would it be impractical or disadvantageous for council to invite quotes?
Thanks, Tanya. That makes it even easier for me because I don't think it's impractical or disadvantageous for us to call quotes. And I will move that motion on the screen that I'm not sure they are, but I'm going to say they're not specialised suppliers. I may find out that they are. I might actually, since I'm moving it, I might add another word in there based on.
Sorry, Mayor. We have, you've moved that it be deferred and it was seconded by Councillor Muscat, so we need to dispose of that.
Okay, good. Withdrawn. Now I'll move that motion on the screen. Seconder, please. You can. I didn't think so. Thank you, Councillor Davis. That based on the information provided, Solutions in Transport Proprietary Limited are not specialised suppliers, and that council undertake an alternate procurement process for a generic traffic guidance system scheme. Any further questions or comments? No? I'm going to put that motion. All in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Righto. Next item on the agenda is contract extensions procurement strategy. Back to you, Mark and Brent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a number of procurement arrangements that are essentially approaching the end of the current agreement. What we are doing is doing a strategic review of a number of those arrangements, both these ones and others that we currently have in place, and looking at rebundling some of those to essentially go to the market to essentially potentially get better offers in place to see whether through that better alignment. So what we do in order to do that, though, we are seeking your assistance in essentially extending those 6 contracts that are listed out there in dot point 1 of this recommendation to help enable that. So we are just seeking that extension out there to either 31st of March 25 or 31st of June 25 with respect to the financial services tender.
I'm going to struggle again, Mark, and I want to know why we decided it's time to do a strategic review when they're up for renewal. And also why we need to go all the way to March next year. How long is the strategic review going to take? Why does it take almost a year?
No, that's a really good question, and once I go through the details, it'll definitely make sense. So the banking services one is to align with a local buy arrangement, specifically currently getting negotiated in place. So extending that out because it's got better conditions, better rates. So it's extending it out long enough for us to be able to then put that in place. When it comes to the others, we're trying to package like services to go out to bigger, potentially bigger companies that can provide a holistic service. So you'll see that there's a few around pre-employment medicals, drug and alcohol testing. So we're trying to bundle some of the safety aspects together to go out in a package, and sometimes you need to align them and also work with our stakeholders to get the appropriate strategy in place. Same with animal control and in other environmental services that aren't listed in there. So the intention is to package them together, to go out once, to look at being more holistic in our approach.
And you need a year to do that?
Well, you need a minimum of 2 months to work with our stakeholders to go through that process. Then we actually need to tender out. Then you need time to negotiate, sign contracts. So I appreciate it. That does look like it's a long-term out, but our intention is to have the tenders out in the first quarter, hopefully, in the next financial year, to give us time to then put the appropriate arrangements in place.
Okay, thanks. There's the last thing I'll say on this, and I'm happy with where you're going, but I don't want to see more of this happen where tenders are due and we ask for extensions with the current tenderers. There's a tender timeline, a procurement timeline that should be adhered to, and this is not the first time. Not you, Brent, sorry, that you're sitting there now today.
That's right.
That this has come to the boardroom where we're constantly asked to extend contracts, and some of them very big, multi-million-dollar contracts. I'm not comfortable with it at all. But I get what you're trying to achieve, and I'd like it done well and truly before March next year, if possible, please.
Yes.
Councillor McClintock, you have a question?
I can understand the strategic element to this request. I did have a little chuckle at bundling medical and health monitoring with Fox Control, but my concern, I guess, is, or my question, probably more than concern, is we're talking about extending these, as Mayor Matt has alluded to the fact that this wasn't done earlier for whatever reason. We're trying to align them all into the one band. There is a little bit of variation there. I can see that on the banking one. But are we overloading ourselves to have exactly the same scenario where all of a sudden all of them are due at once and we don't have enough time and we're going to be asking for extensions in the future because we're now not spread across the year for our officers? They're having to do it all at once.
Yes, that's a great question. The intention isn't to align them so they're all happening at the same time. The intention is to package them together, because some companies do provide multiple services, and by segregating them out, we're then signing contracts with entities at a singular level, which doesn't necessarily provide the council the best arrangement moving forward. So that's why they're broken into sections. I know it's all together in one paper, but there's certain groupings for safety, animal control, and other tenders that haven't come up yet, but we want to try and align them. Yeah.
I guess then just I'm supportive of this. I just want to be mindful, I guess. Let's not align all of them to the one date, if possible, for the sake of our officers having to do this, if that's possible. I get aligning like for like.
Yeah.
But when we've got finances and Fox management all coming up, it's going to perhaps, in my mind, mean that you've got yourself spread thin for a really short band of time, and we're going to be asking for extensions, and then it just creates more problems that come back here again.
Councillor Wagner.
Yes. Just a couple of things. So there's some other ones that you'll be bundling in. They're obviously not due just yet. Is that right?
Yes, most definitely.
I'm just wondering, because we extend these contracts, are there budget implications on that we should know about?
No, very good question, and the answer is no. The budget's already preset for these, so they're standard services that we do provide. It's really, because the time frame is closing without going through a formal tender process, we do need to look at getting those extensions approved.
So for the budget for the next year, you do an adjustment based on the inflation of 15%?
No, essentially,
Like for next
we would anticipate what that spend's likely to be in that space and then budget that appropriately.
Okay.
What the difference is here is if you don't have that arrangement in place, you would have to go to the market for each one of those procurements. Each and every time we entered into one of those.
And what sort of the benefit, like in the past when we do this, what sort of benefits do we actually see out of this? I mean, I'm assuming there's some great ones, and I can see there would be.
But essentially it is that. Essentially we give surety to our teams that are doing either the procurement or working through with these service providers that they're working through for a particular period with that provider.
Yeah.
And then they're outworking that because they've got that head of power in place. Otherwise, every time I've got to go and do a pre-employment medical, I've got to go ring round, get 3 quotes, and go and do that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
No.
So that's the reason why we have these panels in place.
And the intention is to really get it to a point where strategically it's the best fit for council, so we can potentially get better rates, better circumstances, go to one provider in some cases if it makes sense to do so.
Yeah, no, I applaud you for that, and a bit like what Mr Mayor said, and also Councillor McClintock. If we can get these so we're not asking for extensions, I think that's positive. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, councillors? Mover for the officer's recommendation? Yes? Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Second, Councillor Goodluck. The officer's recommendation be adopted. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Brent. Sorry about that. Grilled him. Move to G 4.8, and thank you, Mark, as well. That's right. Yes, it's the establishment of the advisory committees. Hand over to CEO Lisa Dowling.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Fairly standard here, just establishing the advisory committees that we've traditionally maintained within council. There's 3 there, so Iki Sister City, the Youth Council and the Phillip Street Communities and Families Precinct. Happy to answer any questions.
Happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Truth. Move Councillor Churchill, second, and Councillor Holzheimer. Any questions, councillors? No? Yes, Councillor Wagner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can you just explain to me, the Seiki City has been around for a long time, it's added some benefit, but we're continuing to do this. Have we looked at other cities that we might want to align with, and what sort of benefit, because this is one of those historical ones, which is great, but have we really done a review to see whether there's some other alignments that we might like to make?
We do have and the Mayor may wish to speak to it, but a friendship agreement with Melitopol in the Ukraine. So we do have another existing arrangement, but we haven't done any formal review of sister city arrangements and any other options that councillors would like to explore, but we're happy to facilitate that conversation if that's something you'd like us to follow up on.
We have been asked by other cities in other countries to be part of a sister city arrangement. As the CEO said, we have a friendship arrangement, not a sister city arrangement, with the city of Melitopol in Ukraine. But other than that, the Saiki sister city arrangement is very much a cultural exchange. But obviously, the Japanese investment in the Gladstone region from Sumitomo to Kawasaki to Iwatani to Mitsubishi is significant, and we have a great relationship with them. I guess on an economic point of view, from their investment in our region, particularly in the coal industry, but more so recently in the renewable industries, particularly around hydrogen. But otherwise, our relationship with Saiki is very much a cultural exchange. Obviously, the Intercity Images is happening at the Regional Art Gallery and Museum in the next few days or weeks. And then we have school exchanges that happen between at least 3 high schools in Gladstone and 3 high schools in Saiki. Councillor Churchill, you're on the committee.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Mayor Matt. I suppose having been on the committee for a number of years now, there has been requests that have come forward to expand the Sister City program. Probably go back to what Mayor Matt indicated, that historically, the 20 plus years, it's been a cultural exchange with Saiki Sister City. In relation to expansion of the program, where we are not members of the National Sister City Association, requests that have come to the Saiki Sister City Advisory Committee have agreed in principle from their role and responsibility that they're not expanding it beyond the Saiki Sister City, because that's where their focus is. If I share that, I suppose going back in time, a couple of years, we had a small core of people that were on that particular group, but in recent times at the recent AGM, more recent AGM, that has expanded quite dramatically now, thanks to the efforts of council officers and the community that are now stepping up and responding. And some of the new members have an economic industry background. So perhaps that might be something that the new elected members may take on board when they go on to, subject to an agenda item later on. And the last point is, I suppose, which is probably the most pertinent at this stage, is that the committee has discussed the opportunity of perhaps hosting a National Sister City Association conference here in Gladstone. And if that was to be the case, then appropriately that might be part of a discussion or part of a dialogue or a presentation that could come if we were to host that national conference as to how many. Because the difficulty that you grapple with is that if you accepted every one of them, we would probably have 20 or 30 sister cities in the world. Thanks,
Wagner.
Thank you, yes, and I do appreciate that. I'm just wondering, Sister City came around when we were Gladstone City Council, and obviously we've amalgamated. I'm just wondering how we can really engage our outlying areas in this program and really, I suppose, help raise awareness of what this actually really means to our community, like as a greater community, because we do have intercity images, but it's I know other people can be involved with it, schools, but it is at the library, and I get that, but I'm just wondering about the people, in our outlying areas, how.
Well, Tenham Sands High is one of the schools that was not in Gladstone City, it was in Calliope Shire, and they've got a school exchange, so it does extend out beyond the former city boundaries. But I would love to see Discovery Christian College or Rosedale State School or Lowmead or other schools get involved as well, absolutely. So that's something maybe the committee, whoever's on the committee, when we pick them shortly, maybe. But whoever...
We'll have 24 nations, no.
And as for extending it, there has been talk about Gladstone having a sister city in another, I guess, section of southeast Queensland, particularly around the Olympic Games. They're supposed to be all adopting a regional city. So it'd be interesting to see where we end up with if we got one of those. But I think at the moment we've got the one sister city and the one friendship arrangement. If council was of the view to view that and have increase it, I certainly would be interested to see a report. But
yeah, and I suppose the final point is remember there is a terms of reference on this advisory committee, and that would be most pertinent to have the committee, because they are honorary people committing of their time to do what needs to be done in our offices. I think that's probably an agenda item for them to ensure that we value their opinion.
All good? Okay. Lisa, you're still talking on yours. Any further questions on the establishment of advisory committees? just flagging that at some point I'd like us to discuss the Traffic Environment Advisory Group becoming a committee, not necessarily today, and also the establishment of a policy committee. Just putting it on record for the general meeting. Thank you. Thank you. You got to get some wins here. All right, okay. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Oh, sorry, I did. Councillor Churchill. I've already moved and seconded it. No, I have too. All in favour? Thank you. We got this sidetracked. All right, now we go to appointments of committee members. The first item is G4.9, the appointment of Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting. Can I have volunteers on the floor, please? Councillor Deputy Mayor, you are, and
Right through the next one.
sorry.
Yeah, yes, please.
We need two members, and thank you. Councillor Muscat and Councillor Holzheimer as members and proxies. Alternative members, sorry. Councillor Patrick and Wagner, thank you. Is there any other nominations? Can I have a mover and seconder of that? Councillor Davis, sorry, yes.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor Matt and councillors. Can I have permission to leave the meeting? Unfortunately, I've got a prior arrangement that I have to attend.
Absolutely, I will nominate you for a number of committees while you're gone.
Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Noted for the minutes, please. Can I have a mover that Councillor Muscat and Holzheimer be appointed as the members, and that the alternatives, Councillor Wagner and Patrick? Move it by, I'll move it then. No, thank you. Moved, Councillor Goodluck, seconded Councillor McClintock. All in favour? It's very new names around the table, right? Bear with me. Thank you. Carried. Speaking of Sister City, G4.10 is, have I missed one, Lisa? No? The Sister City Advisory Committee. Can I have nominations, please? Thank you, Councillor Patrick and Councillor McClintock. If you want to. Oh, you're giving up the chair role. There'll be plenty more, Councillor Churchill. No. Mover for...
I'll move it then, Mr Mayor, make me feel better.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill moved. Seconded Councillor Holzheimer that Councillor Patrick and Councillor McClintock be appointed to the Sister City Advisory Committee. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Councillor appointment to the Phillip Street Communities and Families Precinct Advisory Committee. A councillor volunteer, please. Thank you, Councillor Patrick. No further nominations. Can I have a mover that Councillor Patrick be appointed, please? Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Beg your pardon? Do we have two nominations? Oh. Oh, sorry, hold of thought. I didn't realise we had two. Another volunteer, please. Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Any third volunteer? Rightio. Councillor Holzheimer and Councillor Patrick move and second as well. Let's go back, Councillor Wagner and Councillor Muscat. Are you happy to second? Yes. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillor appointment to the Gladstone Airport Corporation. I'd like to move this from the chair that Councillor Glenn Churchill be appointed to the Gladstone Airport Corporation for the term of council, and I'd also like for former Councillor Rick Hanson to remain on the board for the next 2 years. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor McClintock. Any further nominations? Put the motion. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you. Appointment to the Gladstone Area Promotion Development Limited. I would like to nominate Councillor Davis. Seconded Councillor Goodluck. Any other nominations? Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Yes. Rightio. When you're ready. I did, yes.
Outstanding efficiency, Mr Mayor.
I'm working through them. You wait, Karen's going to get a few more. She shouldn't have left the room. Thank you. The appointment to the Central Queensland Regional Organisation of Councils is... Oh, there's a recommendation?
Yes, there is.
Sorry. Hang on, let me find that. I'm probably happy with it. Yes, please.
So would this then need to be in my register of interest as a company director, right? Okay. Not as a council appointed person.
Well, you are council appointed, but it is a company.
So I have to put that. Thank you. Just clarifying. Thank you.
That's an airport. Sorry, scrolling. I didn't keep up either. was just using my central region. Okay. Thank you. Moved Councillor Churchill, seconded by Councillor Goodluck.
In moving the motion, can I just ask a question perhaps of the General Manager in relation to the CQ Rock membership budget? Is that equitable across the region, or is that through to you, Madam CEO? It says there in the report, the budget for 2023-24 financial year CQ Rock is 100,000. Is it equitable across the region for all participating local governments, or is it a model of levels?
It's a model, Councillor Churchill. It's based on population and revenue. So there's core funding that's developed on that equity basis, and there's also some projects, for example, defence, where there's only a few member councils that are involved with that, so we contribute separately. Not all members contribute to that. But the core membership contribution is based on a formula that's been agreed to by the directors.
Been agreed to by?
The directors of the
As
organisation.
in Rockhampton and Gladstone Regional Council pay more than Warrabinda and Banana Shire for various obvious reasons. And then when we have individual projects like CEO mentioned, Inland Rail Project, Banana and Gladstone contribute to that because they're the two regions that benefit from.
So it's project driven. Defence Force one as an example.
Rockhampton,
Beef
Gladstone,
roads.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, Defence is Gladstone, Rockhampton and Livingston.
Yep.
Obviously for various reasons, and those three councils contribute to that. And Beef Corridors is Central Highlands, Banana Shire, Gladstone, Rockhampton, Warrabinda, and also Barcaldine, which isn't a member of our ROC. And Livingston is
do
not
they
in that.
contribute?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
Everyone contributes.
So, and water? Right.
Sorry, Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, good question. I'm just wondering, so we allocate 100,000, or is that our fee, and then we pay extra fees on top of that per project?
This budget figure here is inclusive of everything that we're committed to for the next financial year, so that's all of it packaged up.
And we've spent most of the money on that's needed to be spent in terms of reports for the Inland Rail Project. They're all there. We just need the federal government, state government to get on board and make it happen. And also in terms of defence, most of our strategy has been developed and defined and printed.
I'm just wondering, like, I've had a look at the organisation on the web, and I'm not seeing any like reports, like outcomes on our investment. Do they exist?
Yeah, we've got plenty of material we can supply you, and I can tell you absolutely when you go to Canberra and more recently, they won't meet necessarily with individual mayors. They want to meet with ROCs, and you have more clout when you go down with your neighbours from Rocky and Livingston and Warrabinda, Banana and Central Highlands than you ever do going on your own. You speak as a collective voice, and I think it's worked really well. We've had significant support in terms, I mean, Inland Rail Project hasn't happened, but it wouldn't have got to the point it got to without the support of our neighbours. Our defence project wouldn't have got in the Defence Strategic Review, we are all but mentioned. It doesn't say Gladstone, but it says a port north Brisbane. That's strategic.
Why aren't we mentioned?
Well, it does. They don't go into details of naming individual ports at certain things, but there's only one port north of Brisbane that fits the criteria that they're referring to. So it can be mentioned without being mentioned. So, and that's all because of the support we've had from our neighbours and the officers.
Yeah, it'd be good to like celebrate some of these successes. Like, yeah, that's why I was interested. If we're investing this money, it'd be just great to see.
Well, QRAP is another one, but it's all calls division as well. So we probably won't go into that.
Okay,
For our friends in Central Highlands and Rockhampton listing, it's not necessarily, it's something we'll be discussing at our first ROC meeting, and I'll have to brief you on that.
That it also has a role in advocacy, not necessarily, tangible outcomes as in, capital projects or... And the other thing I was going to add, it's work that we do around the waste areas that we're looking at, and those sort of collaboration and options to collaborate. So I've always had questions about CQ Rock, and I don't always agree with some of the things that we do, but again, it is sorry, correct me if I'm wrong too, but we have been in this journey only for about maybe 4 years, and then before we had things that started and then stopped and then started. So it's been a kind of a long journey too. So sometimes those
give you the history if you want to hear it.
don't necessarily, it's not like from one day to the next and just something happens, but...
I think you raise a good point in terms of the visibility of some of the outcomes of the work we're doing, and that's something I'll certainly take on board. We also I provide reports after every meeting in the informal councillor session, because it is a company, so they're confidential information, but we certainly keep councillors very up to date with what's happening. But I certainly take on board your feedback about the visibility of some of those outcomes for community
We
and
get
others.
the minutes,
Thank you.
don't we?
You do, but they're confidential
Yeah.
minutes because it's a company, it's not a council
but we
organisation.
do get the information, yes.
Councillor Goodluck?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And all valid questions. From my perspective, the power of CQ Rock is in the combined advocacy power of all our neighbouring councils, all the mayors and deputy mayors and CEOs. The fees make up the cost of administrating and the executive, which I think there's only one primary officer or CEO or general manager that does a whole broad space of work. And whilst it is money, there is, you'll often hear either the chair of CQ Rock or various different mayors talking on radio, even on TV, and the combined power of meeting with ministers and premiers and prime ministers as a central Queensland body rather than just individual mayors, which we still do. So it is quite a powerful body. And just for reference, I think if we've got an annual budget of $330 million, I think the 100-odd thousand fees equate to about 0.003% of our annual budget. So I think, from my perspective, the bang for buck that we get for CQ Rock's ability to advocate as not just a single region, but a combined central Queensland region is very powerful.
Okay, I have the mover and seconder, Rachel. Yep, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Motion's carried. For the next item, I currently sit on the Gladstone Foundation, but I would like to move a recommendation that the Deputy Mayor serve on the Gladstone Foundation Board of Advice. It is, position is, from the board's point of view, allocated to the Mayor, so we will probably have to seek their permission to do that, but I think by passing this resolution, they'll accept, hopefully, our resolution that it should be the Deputy Mayor. And you're happy to accept? Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Goodluck. Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried.
Before you go to the next agenda item, can we at some stage at least get a report on the future of the Gladstone Foundation? Because we've heard things, with some based on fact, some based on fiction. It would be nice for this council to have a good understanding of what the future of the Gladstone Foundation will be, considering its history, good, bad and indifferent,
I'd love to
and
allocate
then
that to the new
understanding
member.
what's going to happen with the economic activity here in Gladstone region going into the future, which we've just been talking about with advocacy and the announcements that you made earlier today. I'd hate to see history repeat itself.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's a job for you. Councillor appointment to the Gladstone Port Welfare Committee. Can I have a volunteer, please? Thank you. Councillor Patrick. No further nominations. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Holzheimer, seconded Councillor Wagner, that Councillor Patrick be appointed to the Port Welfare Committee. All in favour? It's carried. Councillor appointment to the Gladstone Regional Arts Development Fund. Volunteer, please. Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. No
Happy to move Councillor Holzheimer take on that role.
Wow. Thank you, Councillor Churchill, seconded by Councillor Wagner. Put the motion. All in favour?
It's been
carried. Well done. Many years of chairing that. Congratulations. Council appointment to the Gladstone Regional Council Rural Fire Brigade Advisory Group. I got a few for Karen coming up. Councillor McClintock, you happy to accept that? Thank you. A mover, please. Councillor Wagner, seconded Councillor Holzheimer. All in favour? It's carried. They are. Council appointment to the Gladstone Regional Council SES Management Group. Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Move Councillor McClintock, seconded Councillor Goodluck. All in favour? It's carried. Council appointment to the Gladstone Capricorn Pest Management Group. Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Moved by Councillor Patrick, seconded by Councillor Goodluck. Oh, two. Thanks, I keep missing that. Well, I need another one now. It says two. Have we always had two? signed Councillor Davis up for a lot. I don't know I could overload her with that. No. Well, who's the general manager that looks after this?
Well, you get option two.
No, well, I don't want us to have two and every other council, have one and every other council only have one.
No, we need two.
You'll do it? All right, thanks. Thank you. Move. Okay, so now we have Melissa, thank you. Sorry, I didn't realise we had two on that. I'd like to know who the two were last time.
Councillor Cameron and Councillor Hanson.
Okay, there you go. I know Councillor Cameron was on it, but I didn't know we had Rick there too. There you go. Actually, I did, because, yeah, he's one of the longest-serving members of that committee. All right, so now I have a mover and seconder for Councillor Wagner and Councillor Holzheimer to move that. Do I have no mover? I don't. Can I have one? Councillor Goodluck and Councillor Patrick. That Councillor Holzheimer and Councillor Wagner be appointed to the Capricorn Pest Management Group. All in favour? Carried. Council appointment to Gladstone District Sports Foundation Trust. Councillor Churchill. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Patrick and Councillor McClintock. All in favour? Very easy. Council appointment to Gladstone Area Water Board. Councillor. Yep. They're good. I'm looking up at them. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Seconded, Councillor Patrick. Everybody's seconding that. That's a handball you've just taken pretty quickly. Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Okay. Council appointment to the Gladstone Healthy Harbour Partnership. I'd like to nominate Councillor Davis. Seconded, Councillor Holzheimer. All in favour? Carried. Council appointment to the Gladstone, the Reconciliation Action Plan Reference Group Committee. Do we have one or two? Just two. Okay. Councillor Muscat and someone else, Councillor Patrick. Was that right? Yep, to the RAP Reference Group.
Is that Councillor Muscat as co-chair?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Councillor Patrick as, what's the other position? Member, okay, yep. You happy with that? Thank you. Need a mover and seconder. Councillor Goodluck and Holzheimer. All in favour? Carried. Council appointment to the Local Disaster Management Group. I'm sure it probably refers to the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, but it may not. Okay. Let me get there. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Seconded by Councillor Wagner. All in favour? Carried. Let me catch up now. Yes. Council appointment of Sports Foundation. What's behind it? 91. Sorry, bear with me. There's a lot of pages here. Okay. Rightio. All right, to the subgroups. Can I have a volunteer for the Human and Social subgroup, please? Councillor Wagner, thank you. To the Infrastructure subgroup, Councillor Churchill. Volunteer for the Economic, Councillor McClintock. And the Environment, Councillor Holzheimer. Is there any other nominations for any of those committees? No? Can I have a... You're moving? Moving by Councillor Muscat, seconded by Councillor Patrick. Rachel, do you get all those? All in favour? That's carried. That's a big one too. Hopefully not needed, but when they are, you'll be very busy. Nomination for the Local Government Association of Queensland Policy Executive. Thank you. Seconded, please. Seconded, please. Councillor Goodluck, thank you. Thank you. All in favour? Carried. Well, I'd like to thank Livingston Shire Council for already nominating me, but it's nice to be nominated by your own council as well. G 4.28. No, it's all good. That's fine. I've got it on the live stream. Council appointment to the Reef Guardian Steering Committee. I nominate Councillor Davis. Two. Oh my goodness. Okay, I need another one. Yes. You'll do it?
Or you can delegate to me. Where are we?
Reef Guardian. I didn't know we had two on that.
You can ask me to appoint an officer if you prefer. But
that's how it was.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so it's up to you. That's option 2.
In the past, I was the councillor in here, and we had an officer, which was really,
We
which
happy to do that?
they attend.
Yeah? Councillors, you happy to appoint an officer? So that may find that option now. Well, you'll do that. Yeah. You're happy? Oh, okay, right. So that's option 2 on the screen. We appoint Councillor Davis and delegate to the authority of the CEO to appoint a council nominee or employee. Everyone good with that? I can have a mover, please. Councillor Wagner and McClintock. All in favour? Carried. Okay. Coastal Council Adaptation Task Force. Deputy Mayor. A mover for the Deputy Mayor, please. Councillor Patrick and Councillor McClintock. All in favour? It's carried. Council appointment to the Local Marine Advisory Committee. I will nominate Councillor Davis. Second to Councillor Patrick and Wagner and Holzheimer and Goodluck. All in favour? You won't leave the meeting again. Council appointment to the Transport Environment Advisory Group, soon to be committee. Nominations, please. Yes, 2. Councillor McClintock and Wagner. Mover, please. Councillor Muscat and Holzheimer. All in favour? It's carried. Council appointment to the LNG Regional Community Consultative Committee. Thank you, Councillor McClintock. Maybe you might get them to meet not on a Tuesday and you will be able to attend, otherwise this could be a very easy committee for you. Mover, please. Councillor Patrick and Wagner. All in favour? It's carried. Council appointment to the Local Authorities Waste Management Advisory Committee, LAWMAC. Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Move Councillor Wagner, second, and Councillor Goodluck. No further nominations. All in favour? It's carried. Council appointment to the Regional Roads Group and Technical Committee. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck and Councillor McClintock. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Wagner and Holzheimer. You right? Sorry? I'm waiting. Councillor Goodluck to where is this?
An alternate. A delegate and an alternate, essentially. So
Oh, okay. Oh, well, but they both go to both meetings. They both go to the meeting. Yeah, they do sit on my head, but I'm meant to go, but shh. That's why they're going. Yeah, but they both go to the meetings. Even though you're an alternate, you still go, but you only vote if Councillor Goodluck's not there. It currently says appoint me. Oh, no. So I've still got to be the voting. It has to be me.
Yeah, that's right. So I would vote on your behalf.
Okay. So can we read that to me then? They appoint me and Councillor Goodluck and appoint Councillor McClintock as the delegate. Is that right? Alternate. Okay. You're happy to be my alternate and you'll be at every meeting. Good, because I won't be. Yeah. This is what happens. Okay. You happy with that? Now do I have movers and seconders? We do? Oh. They are very important. That's why I need councillors who have the time to be on it, because I'm busy. Councillor Patrick and Councillor Muscat for that recommendation. All in favour? Street. We got through it. Well done, team. Okay. We just did that one then. Yeah, that's the... Okay, councillor reports. There's no councillor written reports. No, Churchill's gone for that. No, there's no urgent business and no notice of motion. However, we do have a confidential item. So in accordance with the Local Government Regulations 2012, Section 254J, it is proposed to close the meeting and discuss one confidential business item, request for roads and civil infrastructure upgrades renewal Lowmead Road Infrastructure Project will be closed, as I said, under that section. For public discussion would likely prejudice the interests of the local government, and this item will discuss contract negotiations. Can I have a mover that we move into confidential, please? Thank you. Councillor Holzheimer, second, Councillor Patrick. All in favour? Thank you. We'll close the meeting now. Shouldn't be too long, but I can't promise anything.
I joined the Army Reserve in '88 and have been there ever since. I've got the rank of Major. I'm an instructor at the Queensland University Regiment in Brisbane. In my volunteer work, I'm the president of the Gladstone RSL sub-branch. I'm the district vice president, so I mentor 7 sub-branches or chapters. Heavily involved with the young veterans, Central Queensland, veterans and their families, and come along and participate in activities and sort of break down any of those barriers where some veterans sort of hide. Done 1 operational deployment overseas while working for council, and very grateful for council allowing me the time off to go and pursue that part of my life. That was the reward, just helping. I just really enjoyed that, and I think that's what drew me to council, because we were doing something for our community, whether it's just fixing a road or fixing pump station or a burst water main. The guys that go out and do that in the middle of the night, that's a reward that you're helping the community and keeping the infrastructure operational for the community to use, because we've got that common goal, because we serve the community. That's how it should be our number one focus, that we serve the community. We're not serving ourselves, and we all should just work together as one big team.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
I joined the Army Reserve in '88 and have been there ever since. I've got the rank of Major. I'm an instructor at the Queensland University Regiment in Brisbane. In my volunteer work, I'm the president of the Gladstone RSL sub-branch. I'm the district vice president, so I mentor 7 sub-branches or chapters. Heavily involved with the young veterans, Central Queensland, veterans and their families, and come along and participate in activities and sort of break down any of those barriers where some veterans sort of hide. Done 1 operational deployment overseas while working for council, and very grateful for council allowing me the time off to go and pursue that part of my life. That was the reward, just helping. I just really enjoyed that, and I think that's what drew me to council, because we were doing something for our community, whether it's just fixing a road or fixing pump station or a burst water main. The guys that go out and do that in the middle of the night, that's a reward that you're helping the community and keeping the infrastructure operational for the community to use, because we've got that common goal, because we serve the community. That's how it should be our number one focus, that we serve the community. We're not serving ourselves, and we all should just work together as one big team.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Thank you, councillors. We have one confidential item on the agenda, item G 8.1. Do we have a mover for the officer's recommendation, please, which is on the screen. Thank you, Councillor McClintock, and seconded by Councillor Wagner. For those who are joining us in the gallery, I'll leave that up on the screen for a bit longer. Accept the valuation tender panel to award the contract for the Lowmead Road civil contract projects to Loftus Contracting, and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to finalise and execute all matters associated with or in relation to the lease contract, etc. All in favour? No further questions? Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. I declare the meeting closed at 12:40 p.m.
Thank you.